So Kev,
Yes.
the NFL draft just happened, right? What was it? This weekend? This
Genuinely, I
past
have
weekend?
lost. I've actually lost the thread because that was in hindsight not a very good weekend for me. What was it? Three weeks ago, right?
It was like 3 weeks ago or something like that. It's May 16th. Uh we took forever. I got real sick. I think I had Evan's wedding right the week after, and then I got real sick the next week. So now we're 3 weekends afterwards being able to actually
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah. And I got that was day one of drinking just an insane amount of beer, which I've actually decided I'm just gonna be sober now. I don't need to drink alcohol. I don't need alcohol to make me happy.
For anyone not watching right now, Kev's taking on in a non-alcoholic beer. Is that right? We're gonna say non-alcoholic.
I don't. I mean, I don't know what the
Miller Lite, yeah, Miller
what's the
Lite's 1000% non-alcoholic. It's a non-alcoholic beer of choice, isn't it?
yeah. Anyway, that was a rough weekend for me.
It always is though. What last year's got
Yeah,
had
it
been
was a
worse.
rough weekend. I haven't even done. I love to put on. Well, now Blue Sky formerly used to be Twitter, but I love to put my team grades for every single team because I hate the way that the analysts grade the draft
That's what I want
because
to
it's
talk
always
about with
like
that.
this: a C is the worst possible grade.
I've
Like,
been listening to analysts talk
nah.
about why though. They're like, it's just teams don't mess up drafts as bad as they used to. So they've. I was
Then you
listening
put
to
your personal opinion in there. You got to do something. If
you want
everything
a
is an
bell
A
curve.
through
That's
C,
why.
then it cannot be.
Okay. You want a bell
It's
curve, and
not
they're grading high
possible.
school wise. They're grading high school wise. You just have to really suck at it. But they were because I was listening to Sam and Steve. Sorry, and then I totally am throwing you off your point. I was listening to Sam and Steve talk about it on 3013. Their Check the Mic, and they had Danny Kelly on. No, was it Danny Kelly or the other guy from the Ringer? Blanking. Anyway, so they had him on, and they're like, "Yo, with your draft grades, like." Do you feel like they had asked straight up, like NFL teams just aren't messing up like they used to? He's like, yeah, I've been having issues trying to give them bad grades at this point, because nobody really jacked up. But I'd argue there might have been a couple teams that deserved the bad grade. Anyway, you haven't
I
put
would
your grades
say
up yet.
even if I had made a top 350, you know, based on my own personal opinion, I would still and then the players were drafted in that exact order, give or take one or two spots to account for need. I'd still have to find a way to give some teams an F or a D minus or like that's just how grading works. I guess it's not how grading works, but like I'm grading on a curve here. Like
You want a curve
the
real
worst
bad.
draft is an F, and the best draft is an A or an A plus.
Yeah, you want a curve real bad. The other thing though is you got to realize most readers don't think about it like that. They see the F and they're like, "We didn't do that bad. It's still good. We still got enough. It was average."
Okay, well,
And
to
it's
the
like, okay,
Atlanta
yeah, it might
Falcons,
work
I
out.
would say no. You got an F. You did get
That
an F. That
that's
is an F.
Yeah,
You
that
did
would
do
be the
that
one
bad.
team who I'm like, dude, what are you guys doing? And
See, this isn't fresh in my mind. I know that there's more than that actually get an F. The Cowboys are way down there for me.
they
Taking a guard at 12, that's hard
yeah,
to
but
recover from.
I feel like that's a Cowboys move. That just feels right. I don't know, and I'm not obviously I'm
Well,
not as high on.
maybe stop making so many Cowboys moves.
They draft pretty damn well. I don't know if I'd want them to stop making Cowboys moves.
I mean, we're gonna get into the Bears draft. I don't know if that's what we want to get into first. We don't have to, but the Bears are certainly not very high for me.
I Their first 2 days I felt okay with. Uh, let's get started. Let's talk about this draft. You and I message a lot. I think on day 3 I stopped really texting as much. You were messaging me way more than I was messaging you because I was just like distracting myself with other stuff as the draft was up on the side instead. Because I don't know. It
I
was
think it was
after
just
the
this
first
you
two
were.
rounds.
I was also not paying that much of attention. You just were not. I think you wanted to take like the high ground on me and be like, "Yeah, I'm not watching either, man. I'm still messaging my friend." Like,
Oh no, no,
fuck
no,
off
no! I'm not
me.
trying to say it like that. Typically, I would be watching and I
Oh
would be
no,
messaging
no,
you, even
no!
day
You're
3.
so much better than
There
me.
was something about this draft class. This is what the reason I bring it up is there's something about this draft class that I just was not as interested about the depth in it. Um, because I wasn't that interested in this draft class to begin with, right? Like it was kind of lacking up top. It had some good middle, and then as when I was doing my initial mocks, my early mocks, I came to the realization like I didn't feel like the depth in this class was there, right? Whereas like the depth in the class like 2 years ago or last year even felt like it was pretty strong, you know? It's more so because the positions in which this class was deep were positions that you would typically draft later in the draft anyway, right? Like running back. It was a deep running back class. Well, and we'll get to that with the Bears. Deep running back class. Cool. Typically, I'm looking at running backs day 3. Now they all went day 2 because we don't have the things that would typically go day 2. Or
Yeah, but
really the
running back,
4th round.
but also running backs are cool. So like,
Yeah, but they were gone by the time we got to
I
the
don't know,
5th and
man.
6th.
Different strokes for different folks, but like, I don't know. It's still fun to like look at the guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
let
I
how
was
do I
I was watching in
let's
the background. I was
let's
watching in the background, and you I get your messages, and I'm like, shoot, I haven't even caught up yet. Let me look. Let me look. Oh shoot, that's everything that happened. And it's like I'm at my computer. I've got it up on the top monitor, and I don't know what it was. This draft was just weird for me. And I think I just wasn't as invested, and I can't tell because I think the only thing I want, I told you, I'm like, if we get a running back that's worse than like Devin Neal, I'm gonna be upset. And then Devin Neal went, and you know what? Maybe I'm not that upset. We'll see.
you,
We'll talk
you
about
tend
it.
to be able to talk yourself into damn near anything, to be fair.
It's less so. I don't know if I've talked myself into something, but less so talked myself out of caring. Anyway,
That's a good thing we have a podcast about it.
yeah. Well, it's not about how do I put this. There's reasons we could talk about. We'll talk about it. You and I had this conversation.
Front
I
portion
think,
is too much.
yeah.
Colson Loveland was the first pick at 10. I genuinely thought that the tight end stuff was just like mock drafters getting bored. I I really didn't see what those guys were seeing in Johnson or just any indicator that the Bears would be doing that. But we did say in our unreleased I don't know what the hell we've released at this point, but we'd never released the dual mock for good reason. Um, but I did say I like Loveland better than Warren.
We
Um,
said it on the. We talked about that a little bit on the other episode we did release, which was the preview to the draft for the Bears. We
yeah,
brought up Loveland, and I think we both said we wanted Ferguson, who went to the Rams, because the Rams love to take guys that we. I mean, at this point, between like Kobe Turner, they're basically their whole defensive line, and now Ferguson. I just feel like
yeah. The Rams have a real scouting edge. Not a lot of teams have a scouting edge, but the Rams clearly have one.
yep.
They take good players very very often.
And I believe we both agreed that we had Loveland over Warren during that, or at
Yeah,
least we're more intrigued by Loveland over Warren.
yeah, and I'd go so far as to say like Loveland was definitely a first rounder. Um, like a first round grade. I wouldn't have argued that. Whereas I might not have said the same about Ferguson, but yeah, to that point, like Ferguson, the
What
value
were
that I
you
expected,
getting?
the value of Ferguson, which again, I guess to be fair, we thought third round, but the Rams being a pretty smart team decided to jump everybody and just grab him in the second. So I don't know. But here's what I'll say. There was we went when we did the dual mock, I kind of convinced you, but we convinced ourselves of Amari and Hampton. Like I convinced you Amari and Hampton, and you ran out of arguments basically.
Well,
And I would not be
I think the
surprised.
point was we were doing a predictive, and I said, you know what? When Gibbs went, I don't think people had Jahmyr Gibbs that high up, and I could see. I was like, you know what? Of all the people that were still on the board during that point, right? Because we had most of the big ones off already. I was like, yeah, okay, Hampton, I'm with you.
Yeah, listen, if people want to know why we predicted something a month ago that didn't ultimately happen, but something just as stupid happened, by all means, they can ask.
Yep.
They can hit us up. But I went
I don't know
again.
if I call it
I
just
wasn't
yeah.
okay. Fine, stupider. This
I
I
know how
like
you
this
feel. Yep.
less than if we had taken a Marion Hampton. That's what I'll go. That's where I'm going here.
So I would disagree.
Hampton,
but yeah.
it doesn't matter. I haven't even given my reason yet.
Mhm.
Fucking go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I always want to say I disagree early on, but tell me why you feel that way, and then I'll tell you why I disagree. I just want to make sure that people know that whatever you say, I don't agree with.
It is stupid to take a tight end at pick 10 that does not have elite, as far as we know, elite agility drills, does not have even anything approaching elite yak ability, at least statistically. Now there are maybe some offensive reasons for that, but the fact of the matter is, if you want to assure yourself the best possible chance as a great tight end, take one who averages a ton of yak in college. Take one who is very agile. Frankly, just those two things are the most important things, and we're not sure about either of those two things. What we know is he's tough. He's a good blocker. He's a natural catcher of the ball. He does show some receiver like movement with his routes, but I can't look at him and say that I'm positive that he's any different than Michael Mayer, who I thought was going to be really good until I dove into what makes tight ends good or bad. I just think he could just be a guy. And again, even if you have all those indicators, then you would like to pair that with more production than Loveland has, which again, lots of good reason that Loveland didn't have high production. That's all fine. But the fact of the matter is, we just took a tight end that we don't really know that much about that didn't really produce in college. It's all scouting, and maybe the scouting is good, but this is not the profile of a tight end that you take in the first round. And also, you don't really ever take any tight end in the first 10 picks, like ever, basically. It doesn't happen very often for a reason. It's not a high value position. You're not even saving that much money versus the top of the tight end market here. It's just silly to me. At least I know Omarion Hampton will be a good running back. I'm positive he'll be a good running back.
You're probably saving a little bit more in the running back than the running back market. It would be at the mid range of it, right? At the mid range of outcomes. The top is probably about the same. Actually, with Saquon just resetting it a little bit higher for the running back market. But honestly, it's not either way. I felt like at 10, you weren't coming away with much value no matter what you went. Even if you went with a high value position, I did not feel good about so many of the players at edge that I'd be like, you might end up getting like an edge 4 or 5 that just sucks. That isn't even worth like the same amount as like an average starting tight end. That like a Cole Kmet makes 13 million.
But here's what I have to go back, push back slightly before you get into this.
Just for argument. This draft,
we had guys we agreed on, and Hampton was not our mutually agreed upon pick, but it was who we thought. It's who we predictably thought.
Oh yeah,
Johnson might pull a curveball here and go Hampton, and we'll both be like, stupid, but fine.
I was less in love with
Kenneth Grant went 3 picks later. We totally agreed on Kenneth Grant.
Yes. That I would agree with. So that I would agree with 100%. Is I would have preferred Kenneth Grant for so many reasons. So I'm not trying to say that was the right pick. Absolutely not. But I'm also trying to say I'm like, okay, there are a couple other guys I would have taken right there outside of him. And I sort of understand it. I also don't think I fully agree with you. And I'm trying to pull up his analytical profile for Colson Loveland on the yak part, because I remember him having and I don't remember which year it was, pretty strong up there with Ferguson.
No.
Where Ferguson was like, no.
You're going down a path you don't want to be going down right now.
All right, well. I think I actually think he's a better receiver than Warren is. I think the whole him being a better blocker is just he played for Harbaugh. I don't think he's actually the better blocker of the two. I think Warren's pretty fine. He's not that great of a blocker. He's just done a lot more run blocking. I think he is more of a weapon than I honestly think both of them. I don't see him like I see Michael Mayer, right? I see Michael Mayer very much like I saw Cole Kmet. I saw Loveland more like a receiving tight end. And I feel like a lot of the people that I listened to saw him the same way. Are my eyes red? My eyes look like I'm high as hell right now. Sorry. For anyone listening, I look like I'm stoned. I'm not. My eyes are just red.
Colson Loveland was used a little less in line as a sophomore because they had AJ Barner, who was a better blocker the national championship year. I think he has a better frame and a better track record, and played more in line as a junior and succeeded at it and is stronger and all that good stuff, that I think he is a better blocker than Tyler Warren. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're splitting hair. They're both probably going to be pretty good, but I consider him the better one. But I guess to the point of why we prefer him over Tyler Warren is I also agree he's a better receiver than Tyler Warren. So
Yeah. So that's, and to be fair, also with him, the other reason why I liked him a lot versus Tyler Warren was he's a little bit more raw of a prospect because of the lack of time playing his last year due to injury, as well as he's much younger, I believe, than Warren is. There's also the fact that Michigan's offense does not give a shit about the passing game for the entire time that he was there. I mean, there was a whole half in which they wouldn't throw the ball, for instance. I forgot which game that was when JJ McCarthy was there. So it's not like he was asked to do a ton, and when he was asked to do work, he did a ton, right? Like when he was given the opportunity, he did look like a stud. I think then that's where I think it comes down to why people had Warren over Loveland a lot too, was Warren was asked to be the absolute centerpiece of that Penn State offense. He did well, right? The passing game was an after fact. Both almost all of the years for Loveland, but when it wasn't as much as it was this year, when JJ McCarthy was still there, Loveland still was a centerpiece of that passing attack with JJ McCarthy and looked really good. So I don't know. I think there's a lot more. I guess, how do I put this? I can see somebody like Ben Johnson sit there and look at him and say, yeah, I can take what I'm seeing on film right now and make that a lot more, if that makes sense. And I think that at the time, I was less enthused about this pick because I also wouldn't have been very enthused about Warren, as we talked about, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you added Luther Bird into it, I'm kind of like, I see it. I see what we're going for. And now it makes more sense, I think, in that grid. Yeah. But yeah, the first that pick, I think you and I were both unenthused at the time. Like, just whatever about it. That is at least how I felt. And I think you were more upset. And I was just like, this isn't exciting. Like, I get it. It's just not exciting to me.
I don't want to say upset, because with all that said, I understood the stakes were relatively low compared to a normal 10th pick. Like, again, I had talked myself into the second best running back in this draft, who in most drafts would have gone, well, he ended up going 22nd, 23rd, something like that.
Mhm.
And that's about where he should have gone. And I talked myself into that just fine. So it's not like I was like, it's disappointing because and I know that it was disappointing to you too, because I know that we both had guys that we preferred. And, whether you want to get all analytic and not trust your eyes or your whatever, you still have guys you prefer and you guys you'd be more excited to have on the team. And yeah, Loveland was near the bottom of the list, but
I think the other issue
I was watching the draft of three other guys who had a stronger negative reaction than I did. And I did, tell them, I was like, hey, I know we all just watched Tyler Warren like beat up Notre Dame a couple months ago. I'm telling you, Loveland is better than Tyler Warren. Like, so stop saying we picked the wrong. Like, you guys can be mad, but you're all mad about for the wrong reasons. So like, I was the voice of reason in the room, but yeah, it's just not what I wanted to do.
And to be fair though, too, is like it's been a few weeks, so I'm removed from who was there at that time. So I know Kenneth Grant. I remember also saying I would have preferred we took one of the tackles that we had talked about previously that I liked early and just reach on like a Simmons
or Connerly.
Yeah. Simmons or just reach on Simmons or Connerly. But then you see what happened to day 2, and I'm like, maybe we'll talk about that in a second. But I would have probably preferred that. I would have preferred obviously we talked about Warren. I would have preferred like Walter Nolan. I know you would have preferred the next pick, which was Michael Williams, which I think a lot of Bears fans would have.
Williams took some talking myself into, but definitely he would have been in my top 3 or 4 guys I would have picked there personally. Grant, Nolan, Williams, I think, and Well, Will Johnson, but
Will Johnson went so late.
we
I
throw that
can't.
out. We must just throw that out.
Yep.
That's one lesson that we will always just have to learn about the draft.
Supposedly,
got to throw that out. His knees are
yeah.
all fucked up.
Yeah, supposedly there were medical things behind it that came out later, according to Albert Breer.
Which
So
it's also funny, the same thing. You know, I watched the draft of 3 guys who clearly, you know, they know their ball, but they don't know it as well as I do. And like by the time it's like pick 28, they're like screaming like, "Why aren't you taking Will Johnson?" I'm just like, man, there's obviously something wrong with Will Johnson. Like, he's gonna go whenever he goes. That's how this works. It happens every year.
I think you and I were talking about that on our text. It's like it's got to be something medical. Like it just doesn't make sense that he's not getting picked. And then you had said something about because he had turf toe.
He had turf toe, and so I was like, damn, this turf toe is this big of a deal. And then the next day they decide to reveal, which like I go ahead and reveal it 2 days prior. I'd like to know, so I don't look like an idiot.
Right.
But yeah, then they reveal that he's got a basically, you know, congenital knee thing.
Yeah, so we got to throw him out. But I would agree with you. I think the thing there though is with the outside of the DL guys, so the OTs, for instance, that's still kind of a reach. I'd get wanting to be like, hey, maybe we could do something else later and go with Tyler Warren. Outside of that, like I know there's a lot of fans who are mad that Kelvin Banks went the pick before. I would have been more upset, I think, if we went Kelvin Banks over. More so because I like the other tackles more than I like Kelvin Banks. So if I'm barely okay with reaching on them.
I think I agree. Yeah. I didn't have like any major issue with Banks, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be like a great tackle. And if I'm pretty sure he's not a great tackle, whereas like I think Simmons might be, like, why am I doing this?
Yep. So
let's
go on. Let's go on to the issue.
No, I had a couple more angles here. So Poles did mention that they made some phone calls about trading up, but it just never made sense. I think we both agree that it obviously did not make sense. Yeah. There was no path to trading up. The Raiders are always going to take him, and like, you know, I bet the Browns would have picked up the phone, but like to trade up from 10 to 5 for a running back would have been nuts. Would I have been maybe a little bit more excited right now if we had Ashton Genty over what, you know, the 2 or 3 guys that we have instead? Maybe, but that's just
you wouldn't know. The other thing too is you wouldn't know at the time who we're missing out on. I do think the aggregate is still so much better, but because you wouldn't have known what the aggregate comes out to be, and Genty's fun. Genty's just such a damn good player, and we both know that that's such a terrible value to do, but it would have been more exciting. So I'm with you.
Yeah. So, but then the last angle, and this is the one that I can't get past, and I guess there's 2 things about it. Teams were definitely apparently calling us to draft Colston Loveland. That's what several, I assume, reliable outlets have said. I think you've seen the same thing, right?
Well, I've seen that after Loveland went, the call stopped. Which, is that the case, or did they, because Michael Williams goes after with the 49ers, were they trying to jump the Niners to get him? That could be the case too, right? Like that's how it was phrased, right? Did anyone specifically say they were calling for Loveland?
Well, I'll say 2 things, I guess. I guess we don't know, but after we took Loveland, I do feel like there was a lot of like people taking my thing up a notch of like, yeah, I always preferred Loveland to Warren, but it was like, yeah, the whole league thought this way, like that type of stuff. And then like, you know, guys like Ben Selak, who, you know, I'll take any guy kind of like defending the Bears pick, but he loved the pick, and he's talking, and it's like, well, why didn't you say? Well, why am I just finding out what a great pick this apparently is?
Nate Tyson said it
after it happens, huh?
So Nate Tyson said it beforehand. Just a heads up. And you know how much I love Nate Tyson.
Well, Tyson, Selak, and Mays, they're all the same guy to me, except Tyson actually knows about football. But
I don't think Mays was very happy at the time.
Just a little shade for Mays and Selak, but Tyson obviously knows a hell of a lot more than those 2 do. I'm just saying, it seemed like after he was picked, all the national guys were like, yeah, we love this pick. It's like, okay, great. So I could buy that maybe some teams were looking to trade up for Loveland. I'd actually always thought that maybe the Rams themselves were looking to trade up for a tight end from 26. I'd mocked it a few times just because I knew they were they tried to do it for Bowers last year and failed. So I could see them going back to the well, and ultimately they did draft a tight end. So I could definitely put all those pieces together.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that it's wrong. I'm just saying, are we sure though? Because I
No,
don't know if anyone said
you make a
specifically.
lovely point, but what I think we both agree on is that the Bears were getting calls for 10.
Mhm.
I don't care about anything else. We should have done the trade. I don't
Yep.
care if it was, you know, I guess I want to make a realistic comparison trade value chart. I don't care if it was only 75 cents on the dollar,
Versus normal.
66.666% chance on the dollar. Like, I would have taken the trade. I wanted to get the hell out of 10. That is so much more valuable to me than having Colston Loveland. But I don't know. I digress. If the Rams were if it was the Rams, they would have been offering a future one. So man, that's tough to
If
me. But at the same time, if any of those calls were for Loveland, it does make me feel a little better that the Bears were not on an island here.
Yep.
And certainly the national guys saying nice things about Loveland makes me feel good too. Because again, I see it. I watch him play. I'm like going spreadsheet mode with Loveland here. When I watch him play, I do say to myself, "Damn, that is a much better tight end than every other tight end in the country, including Tyler Warren." It's just the spread. It's just not a smart pick on paper to me.
Yep. I hadn't looked at the analytical profiles as deeply. I thought Loveland was a damn good tight end.
I mean, Sam Laporta
The
is the guy that everybody keeps comparing him to, including Ben Johnson. Via and then Loveland told us that Ben Johnson told him that he reminds him of Laporta. Well, Laporta averaged a whole less yard per a whole extra yard after the catch per reception his final year in college. So like we're kind of talking about two totally different animals in that one respect. And
I will
that was
say
like Laporta's like whole thing to me. So it's just like we're looking at we're just not looking at the same guy to me. He could be a different guy. He could be better at other things.
I
It's
will
just not the
say
same to me.
my biggest gripe if we go back to my JJ McCarthy issues was he would have wide open receivers and be throwing them behind him over the middle. And that I think feeds into it a lot too.
Yeah, that's it.
Potentially.
And then it got even
And
worse.
then
So
it got
like
even worse. So like I don't know, like there are times where I'm like I'm watching, and I remember watching Roman Wilson too, and I'm like, God damn, if you just put this ball on him, he's going, dude. Like because the Michigan's offense that year, specifically his last year, was so run heavy that even on third and long they would run it a lot and surprise teams when they threw it on third and long and have wide open guys running over the middle. And so it's like, oh, you guys are missing out on so much yak opportunities, because I remember seeing some of his throws and being like, he's not as accurate as people think. He's quick with it, right? And he's putting, I mean, he has some, obviously his arm talent, but he's not exactly the most accurate quarterback over the middle, I thought. And I think that limited them because I'd see it. I, at the time, remember it. I can't remember specifically with Loveland's attempts, but I remember just specifically as in general. I will throw that out there. Now, obviously, most guys don't have exactly a great quarterback, so
yeah, I
McCarthy's
mean,
probably
I
better
guess,
than what the other guys
I
had.
guess, I guess it's not the greatest point in the world now that I think about it to say that the first round quarterback is the reason
Because they're still
versus
college quarterbacks all over
Sam
the place.
Laporta had
But they might not have
God
that
knows who's
specific
going to
issue.
him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but so another thing, but to that point, I don't disagree with that entirely. I think Yak was left on the table by bad throws. You can see it in like highlight packages. When I watched Loveland, I thought I was looking at an extremely fluid, good Yak receiver. He
he can snag that ball too.
he
That's
was
the other
he
thing
was
too. Like, he can adjust to a ball and snag it with his arms,
so
which is something that is so frustratingly bad with Komet.
he was used a lot on the boundary. Just contested catches, like things where Yak was not really a realistic possibility. But whether or not it's a realistic possibility does kind of speak to that's kind of what separates the good tight ends from the great, like Kelsey and Kittle. Yak is often not a realistic possibility until it is. So there's that to me. It's just at the end of the day, it's the number is the number, and it's just not a bet I would have taken at 10, especially since it sounds like we had a few escape hatches.
Yep. And to be clear to people, why we care so much about Yak is just analytically speaking. And this is where it's like the film tells us he's a really good prospect, the analytic profile for it. Analytically speaking, for tight ends, the strongest correlation to success has been Yak. Whatever if they have a high Yak number in college, they tend to be really damn good. Like that's where you find most of them. And I think Laporta was probably one of the few that kind of bucked that trend as being more like average Yak wise, if I remember
No,
correctly.
I think
Oh,
Laporte was up
good.
there, 6.3.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's I think why we both didn't like Warren. Warren is like what, 4 yards? He's lower than Loveland by a good amount, if I remember correctly.
I'm betting it's like 5 on the dot or something like that.
Yeah. I'll tell you in a second. But
yeah, we
anything,
can. We
anything else
can,
you want to talk about in the first round specifically before we go on to?
Well, are there any other?
So
Weird
there's
things?
some fun shit. There's some fun stuff that happened. I just can't remember everything right now.
Well, so I'll say when I get around to grading, I think I'm going to give the Patriots a pretty good grade, even though I think they made one of the worst 3 picks in the first round. I said, I hinted at it in the pre-draft thing, I think, but then I really doubled down during the duo mock that we didn't release. There is no way that Will Campbell is a left tackle. There is no fucking way. He's not. He can't do any of the stuff needed, in my opinion. But it is notable to me that the thing everybody thought was going to happen, that I try to convince myself they might go somewhere else because it just didn't make sense to me. They did just take Will Campbell. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but like I watched him play, but man, the rest of their draft really got me going. Some of these guys. Ooh.
What's Tyler Warren higher right now on? So okay, I'm gonna call out. I think the big board on PFF, when they show the analytical profile of guys, I think the
Yeah.
big board on PFF during the mock sim does not have the same stats as the premium stats. He's at like 6'6", 6'7". Still isn't great, but it's about the same.
Wait, it's what?
6.6 yards per route run, or per reception, for Yak.
For who?
6.7 for Tyler Warren.
Wait, that's really good.
Yeah, it's not really good. For instance, Ferguson was 9, I believe. When we were looking at Ferguson versus, Jesus, who did we compare him to? I think we compared him to Kittle. Kittle was 8.9. Typically, you want to be up there. So,
but that's like, okay,
I know.
fine.
I don't understand.
It's not really good, but that is significantly better than Loveland, which is not my recollection. So I feel like something
changed. That's not what
I
it was.
I just got a text
and that's
from
why
my friend.
when
I gotta say, I'm sorry. I just got a text from my friend. Sox got steamrolled. He has known me for 10 years and does not understand that I'm not a Sox fan. And more so, I am a Cubs fan who am happy that this happened today. So I'm going to angry text him for being stupid right now. Go ahead and go on. I'm sorry.
So no, and that's what I'm saying. Even with like, these both look different than what I remember looking up and checking for both of them. Now I'm curious. Let's see if Ferguson still. Hey, I'm gonna have to listen to our episode because we pulled them up. Even then, I remember looking them up beforehand. Oh god, I gotta figure out how to spell. How am I not spelling Ferguson right? Anyway, that's hilarious. As you are a Cubs fan, as I am, and I would. And also, why is that news? The Sox always get steamrolled, don't they?
He's a weird guy. It's Wally, the guy who you last met.
Wally's
near my birthday, going to a Cubs game to watch my favorite team play. Whatever. I don't know. I want to be done with this, but I think almost a lot of my premise has been screwed up by the fact that I'm misremembering these stats, or they changed something. Probably the former. They probably did not change anything. I'm probably just misremembering.
Because we talked about them, and I also looked at them. Ferguson's still at 9. There has to be something up with the.
I'm pretty sure we're just wrong, man. There's no way that they changed it. We're probably just wrong. I still like Loveland better, but even more so. And that just makes it even more bad bet on an analytic profile that doesn't fit, because the thing about yak is that we're not necessarily looking for the yak in we're not necessarily looking for yak in the NFL. It helps, but it's also just speaking to the fluidity and explosiveness of the athlete for a college tight end who usually doesn't do a whole lot. So like we're just looking for the little the little indicators. And damn, man, 5.2 versus
That was
even
not
born
that.
at 6.7. Yeah, I don't like the pick. I don't know. There's a billion different angles I can go about it. I'm glad people like it. I like him personally, but I don't think that I just don't think there's going to be a lot here. And I hope I'm wrong. I'm excited as anybody could be about the possibility of a 2 tight end set. But when neither tight end is like a huge threat, in my opinion, then it kind of doesn't matter as much to me. I don't know.
Yep. Anyway, let's move on. So this is why I'm okay with it, because I'm not going to sit there and if Ben Johnson says this is where I think you can fit in, and Caleb says I don't want to go to the Bears because I don't trust what's his name? Obviously, like our coaching staff at the time, as that story came out, we'll talk about later. Then we get Ben Johnson. Now he's stoked, and now we bring in Ben Johnson because we have to. Like at this point, you have to hire him, right? But we both would have. He was our number one coach at the time to hire, so super stoked about that. If Ben Johnson is telling me this is what I want for my offense, and I am going in there and saying I trust Ben Johnson to figure this out, I'm gonna be okay. That's where I think I finally said I'm not mad. I am just not super excited about this, and we'll see how it works. Then you add round 2, and
first of all, I give the pick a D. I give it a D, and that's generous. It would be worse, except I trust Ben to some extent. I do like watching the player. There's just so many reasons not to have made that pick for me, so I give it a D.
I think I had it at a D plus at the time. I think when you do the totality of the picks, and I look at it as a reflection when you add Luther Burden, I give it a C minus. It gets a little bit of a bump specifically because I really like what this offense looks like now, and that piece with Colston Loveland is part of that, right?
I got up angrily. I'm gone. I'm not listening to this shit.
Sorry. It's a part of it because you have so many pieces that are so interchangeable. On top of that, you making everything look the same, like how does he put it? Making things look the same and some things looking different, right? I forget how he phrases it, but essentially like making your bread
same things look
different.
Same things look the.
No, there's a specific.
You're screwing me up. The same things look different, and the different things look the same.
Well, it's essentially your bread and butter should be able to come out in different types of way, and your exotic look should look like your bread and butter.
Or just the exact quote that I just got correct. That is what he said.
No, because I don't think you did. I don't think we did. No.
We want to make the same things look different and the different things look the same. That's what he says.
Anyway, so Luther Burden to me is a selection you make, as well as Colston Loveland, to say, hey, we can put out a lot of looks. We can put our receivers really anywhere, and they can play all of the positions in all the same ways. I think the most different, obviously, is like
word for word. I looked it up word for word. I'm correct.
Okay, well, I just checked it up. I'm sorry. I'm off today. Maybe I am high. Who knows?
I mean, I thought Loveland had a better yak than Tyler Warren, so I'm the biggest dunce here.
Yeah, I think we're just this has been a poor draft for me specifically, but I was, again, the excitement for me was just not there this year to put in as much of an investment as I typically would. And things obviously in life, I haven't even been posting on Blue Sky recently, so maybe people shouldn't be listening to us today. or me specifically.
You were the worst salesman for this fucking podcast I could possibly imagine.
I'm fucking around mostly. Because if I could be honest with you, I would take my half-assed effort over like.
Oh, it's crazy. Our podcast is bad, but it's also like better than most of the shit out there. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Well, I don't know if it's better than in listening quality sometimes, but you know what I mean. At least
Luther
the
Burden
analysis.
was the 39th pick. So I will tell you what, to get back on track, I agreed with you. It was my initial reaction to them picking Luther Burden was like, oh, we're just doing this then. Like we're doing all this stuff. Like, okay, I see it now. I'm okay with that. There are a couple things I want to then maybe double back for a little bit. And the first thing is we obviously wanted Trevion Henderson to fall, and we tried to trade up for him.
Oh, I wanted him to fall so bad too.
We weren't necessarily doing all that. Like that wasn't the plan. So there is that wrinkle. Like we did, like nobody's come out and said it, but like, yes, we were trying to trade up for Trevion Henderson. We all know that.
And to be clear, just anyone who doesn't know this, I'm very rarely I want that guy. Like I have like a, how do I put it? I rarely have conviction. I personally think that that's dumb to have it with players in the draft because shit happens. And look at Mickey Loomis and the Saints right now with all the conviction that they've always had and all the picks they traded away for all the things that the Trevor Pennings of the world. The Henderson was so, and it's a running back too. That's a funny thing. I loved Henderson, man. I wanted him so damn bad. I was a Henderson or bust at running backs. I didn't think
running backs are so insanely easy to scout that like it is. I guess it is easy to develop that sort of conviction. Like,
but it's funny because like I wasn't a Judkins guy.
Much.
Judkins went earlier, right? A lot of people like Judkins over him, and I wasn't a Judkins guy. I liked Henderson like crazy because his vision and his ability to cut and get burst off that cut was just God, the contact balance. I don't know. I thought he was such a well-rounded back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was super disappointed that the Patriots took Henderson, but also I called it and I got to distribute a couple sips of beer because of it with my friends there on day 2. They didn't listen because everybody had stopped playing the game, which I also should have stopped doing. Anyway, it made a ton of sense for the Patriots. It's a great pick for the Patriots. He was definitely my third favorite running back. The only thing would be like questions about his build, I guess, would maybe I could see the argument for Caleb Johnson over him, but Caleb ended up falling to the 3rd round, so is what it is.
Was he the 4th? Was he the end of the 3rd?
Caleb went, I think with the 83rd pick overall, 3rd round for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. Trevion was super just exciting to watch. Like I don't know, I'm not going to say anything too crazy. I think he was pretty clearly the 3rd best running back, and like a perfect fit for the Gibbs type role for Ben. And it is disappointing not to get him, but a good consolation prize is Burden. He was not really on my radar when they came up with 39. I think I was kind of fixated on Caleb Johnson or Ariante Ursary. Ariante Grande, as I like to call him. And a part of me kind of wishes that we had maybe considered Ursary there instead, because I think he went before our next pick. But yeah, Burden's interesting. I do like that they were not closed off to the idea of taking both the tight end and receiver when like kind of getting into too many mouths to feed territory when you add both those guys, because they're never going to be on the field at the same time in all likelihood, or
Well, we can at least have the 3 receivers we have now.
I think after day
that's
one,
right.
we talked about like, okay, do we need a receiver anymore? And I was like, yeah, but it could probably wait till like the 5th round.
God, what if we're an empty gun just all the time and we're doing 2, but we're in like 20, like
Genuinely,
sorry,
who does that not work for?
that would be so much fun. Are you good 2 tight
To have
ends
the 5
and
best
just
guys
empty
on the
gun,
field and to take one of the worst players in football off the field, and
and then
for
just go
Caleb
quick
just to be
game
able
for
to
like everything?
survey, which is
Oh,
exactly what he wants to do all the time.
oh my God,
Who
and
does
we're
that
just
not
full
work for?
spread. We're just full spread, but with tight ends, right? 2 tight end sets, shotgun, empty, and we're just doing jet sweeps, fucking like orbit, and quick game for the run stuff, and then adding all the. Oh God, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just
So
getting excited. That won't
so
happen, but that would be so much fun to watch.
so Burden had some problems last year. Some people called it effort. I just think that Missouri in general just had problems. I found it ridiculous that after he ran like a 4.41, his draft stock, at least amongst the draft expert public, went down from like this guy could be like a top 15 pick to like everybody started mocking him right around where he ended up going, just not to the Bears. I thought that was very odd. And it's entirely based off his most recent season, but to me, it is more indicative of who he is as a prospect that at an even younger age as a sophomore, he was absolutely dominant. Like I'd rather that than the reverse, you know? Like
I mean,
I'd rather a receiver have whatever 1,300 yards as a sophomore and then regress to 600 for some reason as a junior than for him to have 600 as a sophomore and then break out 1,300 as a junior. Because the younger he does it at, the more I could say this is his true talent level.
well,
You
and I
know?
think a lot of it also had to do with injuries. Quarterback play, I think, diminished there because of injuries as well, right? I think,
Oh, they were playing Drew Pine for a couple games. Yeah,
yeah, like half the season they were down.
I think it was just a couple.
They're
I think it was just a couple games, but
okay.
Cook was limited. I think in some games that he played, and just Missouri
He
kind of
also was.
feasted. Missouri kind of feasted on a softer schedule.
Uh,
Just their offense as a whole worked better. They had that white running back who left. Like things just looked better
yeah,
in that offense in 2023.
yeah. So that's what I'm trying to add there is you also have a reason why that diminished, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
it has a reason and it came out early, I would agree with you completely. Uh, the thing that I also want to add is on cornerbacks. That's actually a big thing for me. Is if I see a cornerback who has one good year and then they had a really bad last year, I'm like, oh, I might get some value out of you falling because honestly, I just need to see it once. Sometimes it's just volatility.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the NFL as a whole made an oopsie there.
Yep.
I this is not Homer, and I'll be proven wrong because I'm always proven wrong whenever this particular team I'm about to mention does anything. But I absolutely prefer him to Matthew Golden on the
Oh
Packers.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, hold
Not
on.
even a question
Uh,
for me.
I can't remember the last time the Packers proved me wrong on a draft take. I mean, at best, maybe with Watkins, who seems like he's losing his role with Golden, and mostly because injury is probably hurting him, so that's why I would be wrong. Um, but they
You know,
haven't. Their early picks have all been first and second rounders that I've sat there and I feel like I've judged. They might have had like one good year, like, and I'm blanking on their Stokes.
I guess what it
One
is,
good
yeah,
year, and
they pop, they always pop early, and
then
then
they fade. They like
they do fade. I don't know.
yeah.
I didn't like the Rashawn Gary pick, and
That was a
he's never
while
taken.
ago though.
Not really. I don't know,
Compared
7
to
years
sorry, I'm
ago.
thinking like past 4 years. Rashawn Gary's
It's still Gutekunst, and again the point is they always prove me wrong. But what I'm getting at is yes, actually maybe I agree with you. I think they
I think
feast a little
LaFleur.
more with they feast a little more mid round
Yeah.
than really anybody. But yeah, first round they tend to
Second round as well too, I would say.
start
I
a little
mean,
hot.
look at the Musgrave and who's the actual tight end that's doing well there?
Tucker Craft.
Yeah, and I like Kraft more than Musgrave. I remember they took Musgrave. I laughed. I was like Kraft, and then I saw them take Kraft. I'm like, oh, you guys just double dipped. But yeah, that's and look who's better.
Pretty good drafting.
Yeah, I mean, should double dip when you have a need like that, I guess.
You need a tight end, double dip, sure.
Yeah. It's usually late. But yeah, that's smart. And yeah, they do feast later, but I feel like every time I see them take somebody early and I'm like, that's not a good pick, it's worked out for the most part. And so I would say that Golden, that's how I feel with Golden too. I'm like, okay, cool. You got a speedster at one good year. In a offense where he better be able to have a good year with everything that's going on there.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, not a fan of him. But so the only thing I would say about Burden is he is a little same area. All three of our top receivers now, and then the tight ends by default, because like they're stretching the field. They are a little same area of the field-y to me. Little duplicate E. Like I know Rome in theory is supposed to be a different area of the field than Burden and DJ, but like the things that he did best were really in the same area were more in Burden kind of excel, I feel like.
I think Rome's a lot better outside deep. Like he can work the deep outside.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
He didn't actually do it.
Right. I think there was a lot of issues on communication when he did.
Yeah. Listen,
and I think a lot of that goes coaching. We don't need to rehash this.
Yes, I cannot. I know you're about to say that. I cannot possibly relitigate whether or not the coaching has anything to do with why the team.
Oh, I can. At this point,
of course it did.
Yeah.
But we cannot. We just have to talk about what happened on the field, and that obvious caveat is going to hover over everything we say.
Yep. What I'm trying to say though is he would get open. Like he worked the deep outside pretty damn well on like corners and everything like that, and even sometimes the middle a little bit less on the middle. Like the intermediate middle is what I'm trying to get at with like digs and everything like that. But he was working deep outside pretty decently. Open wise, now that's all I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Pulling it back, I think he's got potential. There's all I'm saying. Whereas Burden and Moore are definitely very similar. And then I don't see Komet and Loveland as the same at all. I see Komet more of like an underneath, and I see Loveland as a damn good seam ball guy. I think the thing with Loveland is they didn't use him in certain ways in Michigan. Yeah, that we will be, because I think his ability to adjust to a throw, if we're doing a quick seam, like you got Caleb throwing a quick seam to him like over the top. I don't at like 15, right? And it's a little off. He's gonna come down with it. Whereas Komet's gonna turn around and then not find it. Right.
Yeah, but Komet, but Loveland is still occupying the same areas of the field for the most part. Well, no, it's not really a matter of whether he does it better or not. It's not like you're going to do something different with Loveland than what you've asked of Komet. You're just going to have
Komet more
do it better.
You want Komet more of in like a release or an underneath, and you want Loveland working the intermediate and the outside.
Well, then I would ask why have Komet ever play instead of Durham Smythe if that's the case? Like Komet is not just a release underneath. He could run.
Hold on, I know he can. He can also run a good corner route. Like Komet does run a good corner, right?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think. I think so, and I think he runs. How do I put this? I don't think that they're the same-ish. Is what I'm trying to get at there. Like they don't occupy the same type of wide receiver or tight end. They kind of blend a little bit, right? But I think one's a much better receiver and one's a much better blocker. And one's more reliable underneath, whereas the other one's going to be more explosive, in my opinion.
I'll say this.
I don't see Komet as explosive.
First of all, Ben Johnson is going to design a play where he's not going to design a play where the two tight ends are standing next to each other. I don't mean that. I'm just saying, I don't know. I guess I would like a little bit more variability in my two tight ends if I'm running a lot of two tight end sets. And I do consider them to be the same. If you had to put an overarching prototype on them, it would probably be the same word. But yeah, I mean, the whole point is that you're not going to be sure which one is doing which thing on any given route. It's just this is actually less important than the receivers, who are the ones who are actually going to be stretching the field, and the tight ends are going to work underneath, like obviously.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is I think that Loveland can stretch the intermediate middle, right? I actually think Loveland can stretch the intermediate middle. He
I
didn't
agree.
show
I
it.
think he can at some point. That opens up
Yep.
some little dragging crap underneath. Sure.
Yep. And then like if you run a crosser with him, I'm pretty sure he's making that linebacker look stupid, right? If you throw him on like his ability to, again, being able to adjust to the ball, right, gives you a lot more space within with your throws as you're like you could play action, you get that opening. I have the ability to now make a throw to him that might not be as accurate, that I might not trust Komet to come down with, for instance.
Yeah. I don't know. We're splitting hairs. I will say
I think
that
he's a better receiver. I think he
if
runs
I
better
fully
routes.
trusted, you said like if you drive him across the middle, he's going to make a linebacker look stupid. I think if I fully trusted that statement was accurate, I'd be okay with having taken him at 10. To be totally honest, I think that's very possible. It's certainly more possible than Komet, who we already know can't do it. But
yep, I'm more still talking, especially with play action, right? So we're talking like a crosser off a play fake, or even a seam ball off a play fake, or any of that stuff. I don't see Komet as strong in those areas. Whereas, like, if we're running like a sail route, like if we're for some reason having Komet be the corner on a sail route, or Komet be the intermediate and on flood, right? I think
yeah,
he's better at that. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I think that Loveland is better than Komet at every single thing, besides the obvious stuff where it's going to take him a year or two to catch up with. But physically, I think he's better at literally every single thing.
No, I think Komet's not that good of a run blocker, but I think he is a better run blocker at this point, just because.
But Loveland will catch up in a year or two.
Yeah,
it's all.
He's a better tight end all around. I would agree with you.
I think the same guy. I think
Yep.
not the same guy. I think they have the same skill set, but Loveland is just better at every single thing.
I see. This is where so I know he's not fast, but I still see him as more of a group tight end.
With all right, Loveland. I'm gonna. Yes, he might be a move tight end, but we also are. The whole point of us breaking down the 10th pick is that we don't actually know whether or not he does have the requisite explosiveness to actually be that in a way that is meaningful.
We'll find out.
Because if you're not meaningfully, you're definitely more athletic than Komet, but if you're not meaningfully more athletic than Komet, then you are basically just Komet, because every tight end ends up, every good starting tight end just kind of ends up back in the Komet zone of like 10 to 12 guys.
Well, whereas Michael Mayer, I saw it, I looked at
a million times.
With Michael Mayer, when I saw him, I said that's just Colt Komet with maybe better hands, right? Like maybe a little bit better at adjusting the ball. When I saw him, I was like, that is a what's it called? A wide tight end. When I watch Loveland, I'm like, no, you got potential for a move. I can put him at sniffer, for instance. We're talking about going like 5-5. I can put him at sniffer and then work him around on an end around on a run play where he's still kind of like a tight end, right?
I absolutely agree that might be possible, but the indicators in his statistical profile don't make me also consider the possibility that he is just Colt Komet.
That's fair. I think that there is sometimes a difference between how fluid I see you on the field, right? And the way that you're able to set up your routes, obviously, as a receiver. Then there is he's just athletically dominant, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think you and I had thought for a little bit, we're talking about, like you said, his top is Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen was fast as shit. I think Greg Olsen ran like a 4.45. That's probably not going to be the same in the same way, if that makes sense. So I remember watching Greg Olsen's 40 during the combine live. I was like, damn, I want him. And then
that was a big moment for us guys who wanted tight end to pick 31.
Yep.
This is a boring topic I want to get off of pretty soon. I still stand by. I think Olsen is what you'd be hoping that Loveland could essentially become, like at his 100th percentile, and
maybe for different reasons.
For Olsen as a 100%, no, for most of the same reasons. I think Loveland might be about as fast on the field, and I think he could be a good like vertical type receiver like Olsen was. Like Olsen stretched the seam really well. I don't expect that, and a part of it that was partially a criticism of like if Olsen is like your 100th percentile, I'm not in love with that. But there's like other bits and pieces that are fine. We've gotten back onto Loveland though,
Loveland, yeah.
and it really was not the point. To come back to the other point, it's just the sameness of the receivers. I'm curious to see, because I do trust that Johnson is going to design some good ass plays, and not just trick plays, some real plays. And I'm just curious as to how that works with our three receivers, given that our two tight ends are, regardless of which one is running whatever route, one of them might be asked to stretch a seam or run a corner or stay underneath and do some whatever. But the receivers are the one that is going to dictate the shape of the field. And I just wonder what that shape is going to be more often, because does Burden play more slot? Like, are we going to try to turn him into Amon-Ra is not a great comparison. Granted, I have seen it, but are we going to try to make him Amon-Ra? Or are we going to take advantage of the fact that he does seem capable of stretching the field? He is fast. Like, I just wonder what.
Yeah. So can I just really quickly explain something on this? Because I see what you're saying, and I want to explain why you're thinking this. Is because we have two wide receivers that we know are pretty much yak guys, right? With Burden and Moore are very good underneath, get the ball in their hands quick. Like if you can get them on a screen, for instance, or like on like a quick slant, you're hoping that they're taking it like to the house, right? Very limited area of the field to be attacking underneath for two year receivers. Then you bring up the reason why you had brought up Roma Dunze, right? It's like you kind of see him the same, but I think Roma Dunze, that's why I was trying to argue, okay, we're going to be able to stretch it outside too, right? And I do think DJ Moore already stretches it outside, and I think that you're hoping Luther Burden can start working in the intermediate. But right now we know it's just that underneath
Burden can both do that a bit as well, but it was just what they all do best.
So you're saying like if there's a heat map, if there's a heat map, the way you're seeing it is there's not a very big area in which we have this heat map working with all of our
you want to 52 by 100. You want as much of that occupied as possible. And I just worry. My one worry is that maybe
it looks like this.
That is shrunken a little too much.
Yeah, it's literally hot on the seams, hot underneath, and then maybe a little underneath in the middle, and that's it.
Yeah,
So I'd say two things. One of them is Ben Johnson did say that he wants a lot of yak. Like he made that a very big thing of getting the ball into his playmaker's hands and letting him go. My other thing though is that's kind of why I was arguing that I think Rome will be able to get you some of that outside, and then I think that Loveland gets you more of the middle than just on the seams. So you're starting to get like more of like this map, right? And then Burden, I think, can start to become more of an intermediate middle kind of worker. But that is all, hey, if I was a coach, this is what I'd be hoping to develop from what I can see with these guys. And that's where I'm like, I think that's what he's saying more. And we're saying, oh, this is how these colleges use them, which one, we're already looking at the schemes that are going to be a lot more vanilla and what their roles are within it and what the limitations are of whoever the hell's getting the ball, etc. Which I think Burden didn't have the same, like he was, I think, a little bit more well-rounded as like a receiver the year before, than just like, oh, dude, the dude was great at like get the ball in his hands on like a screen or something like that, right? So I think that if you're looking at it, you're basically saying we're going to develop them into these and we're going to start putting them in these roles, and we'll be able to do a lot with them because we've seen them flash a little bit when they do get those chances. Right, I don't know. So
I think developing Burden and Rome in a certain image is going to be a big part of it. I don't know if that necessarily is going to be like an immediate thing, I guess. The other thought I had is I just think we're going to be annoyingly RPO heavy this year. I think I just have a feeling that we're really going to rely on that, and that's where the yak comes in, and not needing to run a whole ass route, but just kind of run a little slant. I feel like we're going to be annoyingly RPO heavy.
I hope not.
That's where I feel like having both Burden and DJ and even Roma to some extent is the fact that they're maybe a little bit duplicative. If you run like a a slant with DJ and a bubble with Luther behind it, it's not really any different than the other way around. It doesn't really matter which one's doing which. I kind of feel like we might see a little bit of that as well.
I think that we're also going to be pretty quick game dependent, specifically because Caleb looked so damn good running it. And my issue with the quick game that we had last year was our quick game was incredibly limited play call wise. It wasn't because of Caleb. It was we had like 2 plays we really run, and that's our quick game. And like at a certain point, the defenses were literally choking up on some of the routes that they were expecting. So Caleb's just rocketing balls in there, trying to squeeze the holes that he was given when they know it's coming. So I'm wondering how much of the quick game they're bringing in. This goes back to like, hey, they brought in like Bieniemy, for instance. I know he's a running backs coach, but he comes from a more standard West Coast offense. So he's going to come in and bring in a lot of that quick game that you're getting with the Chiefs and like Andy Reid, right? You've got the Sean Payton-ness, right? Coming in that aspect of it. I'm curious how much more quick game is going in there. Not just like quick game, but like Sean Payton's offense, for instance, is more reliant on faster decisions, getting the ball into playmakers' hands in space, but it's not RPO dependent, right? It is definitely more of a play design dependent. And I don't know how to explain. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, sure. A part of what I'm speculating is so then they also run in Press Taylor, and my speculation is that Press Taylor was brought in just to pick his brain about the one thing I think he actually does well, and that's design RPOs.
Yep, I'd agree.
And also just that Caleb, again, this is mostly in theory, but Caleb could be very good at those RPO decisions. There were some bad ones and some good ones last year. There weren't a ton of them. I could just see Ben watching Caleb and saying, "Oh, this guy could handle a lot of RPOs. Let's get these in here to get him in a rhythm." I don't think it's not gonna be like the offense, but I think you know, five per game is way too many for me, to be honest. And I think we're going to see at least 5 per game.
I think we're going to see a lot more 3-step, 5-step drop type stuff.
Yeah, I see that too. And
yeah,
that also that's
we would have
all,
expected.
That's all extremely uninspiring. I don't like any of that.
I don't
again, I trust Ben's vision, but it's not how I drop an offense.
Right. And I don't.
But I think we're trying to fit it into what Caleb's doing well currently and what we hoping to do well in the future. But that
plus what the weapons are
in the future.
Plus what the weapons are, but I guess what I'm trying to get at there too is that plus what you hope of is some kind of semblance of a run game. Eventually, he's going to make guys bite up. We're still going to get those explosives, right? Like,
well, we're not going to have a run game, so
I disagree. But yeah, I'm excited. Just really quickly, I am excited to see how this all works because I trust Ben Johnson with it, and knowing as you saw me say when we brought up Luther Burden, that made me excited for the Loveland pick because I think all that I can see a world where all of that works in very different ways. But we'll see. We will have to see how it plays out. Well, so now let's go on.
The next was Shamar Turner. I don't care.
I'm fine with it.
I was fine with it. They picked him around where he was going. I don't really think we needed another 3 tech type.
I gotta just quickly say something though that I want to vent about when it comes to like Bears media, especially like radios. A lot of teams run. So, like, people get upset because we pick guys who run, like, 2 gap, right? And we have to base it off the flashes for the 1 gap. Most college defenses are doing 2 gapping. Almost all college defenses are 2. It's like, you don't get a lot of the Bamas and the Dan Lannings and Bama was Saban. I don't even know what you don't get a lot of the Dan Lannings.
I think they both also 2 gap actually.
No, it's a 4-2-5. They not.
It's hybrid.
Yep, they don't even do the 1.5. They it's Saban's a cover. He's a match. He's a man match, not a man quarters.
That's lovely. Are you saying Saban and Lanning both?
No, Lanning turned to that because Lanning was with Kirby Smart with the 3-4, but now with Oregon, at least when I watched the film, it was a 4-2-5. He was doing a lot more of the He was doing a lot more of the Saban stuff.
Anyway, yeah, I've learned very much the hard way that they all 2 gap and screwed up my scouting, and not only do they two gap, they also don't necessarily even try to.
Yep, that's why you have Harmon though
stand
from
there.
the Oregon, who's just like gunning it. But yeah,
but so
most
that
defenses
point,
though, most defenses are running their year two gap, and a lot of times you're marrying specifically also because college quarterbacks aren't as great at throwing the ball, but a lot of them can scurry around and run. So they're doing a lot of mirror techniques, even on like pure drop back. They're not rushing the passer as much because they're trying to keep the guy contained.
yeah, it's annoying. It's very very hard to figure out what you're looking at. But
yep.
I learned that the hard way 2 years ago, trying to figure out what Javon was doing, and so for the same reason, he's intriguing in the same way that Javon was in many ways, and even Pickens. It's just another. Let's throw another one here and see if we can make something happen. Now,
right.
Again,
but for anyone asking why,
I think if we'd thrown it at Kenneth Grant, we would know, and don't have to relitigate that. But
even Harmon, like
there's also a sameness between Grady Jarrett, Shamar Turner, and Javon Dexter that I understand you could slide them over, and really in nickel, what's the difference? They're all playing probably on the outside shoulder of the guard anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't know. It wasn't what I would have done, but I get it. They wanted another tackle. Pickens is probably going to be
a little
released,
bit of edge versatility.
So is what it is.
He has a little bit of edge versatility. He played on the edge.
Yeah, people are saying that. I'm going to believe that when I see it. I don't
think. Yeah, Dennis Allen was saying that right now they're just basically playing him at tackle. So we'll see.
Yeah.
He did lose out to two guys who got picked in the first 2 rounds, but they're also like Gordon. I think is very good, but maybe not in the way that they played him. And we've talked about why am I blanking on his name? Turner, the other Shamar
Stewart.
No, Shamar Stewart. Ours is Turner.
Yeah.
I know that's such like an athleticism thing. But if I lose out to the guy who doesn't get any sacks, that's a little bit of a concern.
Body type wise, and I guess you could put on or take off weight, but body type wise, obviously Stewart is the edge and Turner is the tackle.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. That was like
there is that.
Yeah. I wonder what the production would have been. They might not have had tackles, so you just move him inside and like that's your best like setup, right?
Yeah.
So maybe. But I would have
none of them they weren't really trying that hard to get to the quarterback. And if any of them was, it was Scourton. The other guys were just kind of, from what I saw, they were just kind of standing there like, hey, we're big bodies, do not be running on us. We're athletic enough to chase you down if you try to escape the pocket. But it was kind of like when I would block as a receiver, I would always have like a kind of a detente with it was the other way around. When I played corner, there was a detente with the receiver of just like, hey, if we both stand here, neither of us has to be involved in this play.
Just let me take up space.
When a receiver started blocking me, I'd be like, well, what the fuck, man? It's kind of that. It seems like that's what like A&M and so many SEC and Big 12 schools especially do, is just like, we all agree we don't get in each other's way. We're all just standing here, right? Like that's kind of what they do.
Definitely not, but I can see why it looks that way.
It's basically that.
It's like I gotta stand here and take up space. You guys
add 200 pounds to my story, and you basically got the same thing.
It's because literally it's like I'm sitting here waiting for the quarterback to move and maintaining the pocket so that he can't escape it, right? Ensuring that he doesn't have an exit lane, right? And basically, how do I say this? Basically running mirror technique to make sure that, hey, anywhere he's going, I'm falling, and then he's not going anywhere else. And the offensive line's whole job is, well, I don't want you to get past me, but you're not trying to get past me. So this is weird as hell. I'm just going to sit here and shuffle with you. So it does look exactly like you're saying, where it's like, just don't block me, and we're good. Just don't run past me, and we're good. It comes out like that because it's not because of the players, though. It's because of the scheme. Which is funny as hell, though, when you say it like that.
No,
with you, I don't want to try to go.
There's certain things that remind me of like the rare moments and like the weird way that I would play, and I always think like, I'm getting away with something that like you would never see at the next level, and then I see it at the next level, like in ways like guys avoiding, like looking like they're trying to get on the tackle, but they're really not. Like little things like that. It's like, oh shit.
Oh yeah,
I see me there.
That's a business decision. Why'd you make that business? It's so funny though, because I never played like that. I was like, Like, dude, if you had a big ass guy coming at me, I'm like, fuck it, I gotta put my body out there.
I mean,
I don't
look
give
at
a
me.
shit.
I'm not getting on any tackles if I don't have to.
I know, I hear you. I just find it funny. I also played at a very young age, so I just got used to that shit. Sorry, go on.
Nah, I don't care about any of that. Turner, he's the same bet as Dexter and Pickens, essentially. And we're 1 for 2 as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the one is not like a huge flashing one, but it's one.
Solid. It's a solid one.
Let's try to get 2 for 3 here.
Yeah.
Far more interesting is Ozzy Trapillo. Ozzy Trapillo.
I like this pick significantly more than you. And I feel like the reason that turned you off
No,
of
you
it
don't.
more.
No, you don't. What are you talking about? You're talking
Ozzy Trapillo?
This is based on a conversation with somebody else. I love that.
No. Then wait. Why are you so upset that we got it? Okay, so you just see Ursay as that much better. Whereas I see them as two second round tackles.
I just like Ursay. I just liked Ursay a little bit better, and I would have preferred to go Ursay.
Because you bring him up multiple times, so that makes me feel like you don't like Trapillo.
No. I have more faith that Ursay can play left tackle because he's done it more often and more recently. And I think left tackle is far more important than right tackle for what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is a little bit better than Trapillo, and I mean this one doesn't really matter at this point because it just clearly wasn't going to happen. But I would have liked it if we would have taken Caleb Johnson in that spot and Ursay. I'd been happy with that duo, but that's not a fair binary. Trapillo at that spot when they took him, I said, yes, I like this.
Yep.
This is a good pick. I'm glad that we made this pick. Because I did not think much of Trapillo. Just literally, I did not think about him for months, and then I started coming around on him probably less than a month before the draft, and I was liking what I was seeing, and I was honestly a little bit surprised that he did not play left tackle because there's nothing about him that suggests he can't play left tackle besides the fact that he just didn't do it for 2 years.
So he's talked about it a little bit on why, and it was specifically like a coaching decision based off of what they had, and he still practiced a lot at left tackle. Like he says he constantly takes reps. If he worked one side in practice, he would take reps on the other side after practice just to make sure he had it there. But it sounds like what they had was, and he didn't say this part specifically. He did bring up the coaching decision. But it sounds like what they had was they had a really good right guard, and they really solidified that right side to run on. And their game was very much so run heavy. So the left tackle didn't have to be as good of a pass blocker. If that makes sense. That's from what I'm hearing from people trying to speculate. That's speculative, but he did bring up the fact that was a coaching decision to have him on the right side, and they asked him specifically, "Hey, do you want to play right? We want you on right for this."
That said, if again, I think if you go back to when we picked him, I think I was pretty excited.
You were. I thought you might have soured on it because you bring up the Ursay part a lot, but I remember you specifically saying you found out that Poles' dad and his dad went to BC at the same time. So then I was like, oh, come on.
That's an automatic minus. That just is an automatic minus.
I think it's funny.
I just don't like that as a if that moved him just one spot higher on the board than somebody, which I know it did. I don't like that. I don't like that process.
I don't know if it did or not because I'm wondering how this would have played out if Ursay was there, right? Like he was one of the last tackles you could take in the second round. We picked him literally. We're like, oh, there's a run on offensive tackles. Shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I don't know who we would have picked if others were there, but we did get to pick one of the last few.
If I had to say just one negative thing though, it would be and it's truly nitpicky. I think it's that in game action he is used to turning a certain way and recovering a certain way, and it is not the same. But I do think that there is a lot of reason for optimism that he can switch over to left tackle without much issue. I think that's totally within his profile. The other thing is this is maybe more anecdotal, but I just like a big, tall guy who's mostly filled out. I don't recall many of those guys not working.
What's his wingspan, by the way? 81 inches? Jesus.
It's probably
Oh,
too short for what his height
it's
is.
yeah, his arms are
Just
only
knowing
33.
this tackle class, yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, where have
81.
all the monsters gone? There's a couple monster looking dudes in this upcoming draft that I'm excited about. Granted, I hope that we're not even looking at tackle, but
Yeah, it's his wingspan though that gets me a little excited. He's got
we've
33
been
inch
lacking
arms.
some monsters.
Yeah, we have been. Uh, because what I'm trying to get at here is like when you got that big of a wingspan, like yeah, you don't have the arms, but you're taking up so much space as you're coming around, right? As you're if you stay flat, you stay how do I put this? If you're keeping square in your leverage correctly, you still have good reach. And he's such a damn big guy, and he's a powerful guy.
Right.
It's gonna be hard to if he as long as he's patient, it's hard to beat those guys. Now I look at Dewan Jones, right? The guy from
Yes,
LSU.
I was about to bring him up, and I do want to say a key difference is Dewan Jones has a lot more mass. I would say probably another 30 some pounds of mass on him.
Yeah, but I think that's less important in pass blocking than it is in run blocking, right? I want people to be more nimble than I want them to be big and pass blocking.
It depends on the
Unless you're taking
guy.
a power rush. Like if I'm taking on like how do I put it? Verse. If I'm taking on Jared Verse, I probably want Dewan Jones because
So
Jared
I
Verse is
don't.
gonna take you and
So
like still send
I don't.
my lot up, for instance.
I don't know what he's done in the pros entirely. I know that he was pretty good as a rookie, and I think he regressed in many ways as a second year guy. But I liked Dewan Jones a lot as a pass blocker. Just by my scouting eye, I thought his lack of mobility hurt him as a run blocker, but it didn't really hurt him much as a pass blocker, just because he covered enough space, and the second he got his hands
He
on you, you were done. And most
yeah,
guys, most pass rushers are just power or are just speed to power guys.
yeah.
Like
To be
there
fair
aren't that many
too,
guys with a lot of moves. So I just like a big old guy who's going to snatch you up and he's not going to let go.
yep. To be fair though, and this is where it gets a little bit more difficult, is like Dewan Jones has 3 inch longer arms. He's 36-inch arms. He's just a long dude too,
Mm,
and an 87-inch wingspan. Now, an 87-inch wingspan, even for his height, is massive. Like
yeah.
that's huge because like even what 6 foot wingspan is 72 inches. So like even at 81, you're like 6'9". That's basically your height, if not more. So like you've got a long ass wingspan for just even for Trapillo. So like
Yeah.
87 is gigantic. You've got a 7 foot something wingspan. Um. So yeah, I don't know. That's where I get a little worried on wanting to do the Dewan Jones comparison is because the length that he has is what allows him to recorrect. And then yeah, with that big ass anchor he's got, if he's recorrecting a little bit further out that he's got less leverage, he's still got the strength for it.
Yeah. But then, so the flip side is that Trapillo is far, far more nimble.
Yep.
And he does have enough length to recover
Yep.
and stuff I'll just say it. I mean, I'd rather have Ozzy Trapillo at left tackle than Will Campbell. I mean,
Yes, I will agree with
it
you.
just is what it is. I certainly would not rather have Will Trapillo as my potential, Pro Bowl left guard versus Campbell, which is a big part of the math there.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm all about it. I really, really like the pick. I mean,
I'd
my
rather take him at that pick than
my instant react was that Luther Burden was the best pick that we made. But the more I think about it, I think Trapillo might be my favorite that we made the entire draft.
I'd rather have Trapillo there than Calvin Banks at 10 by far, easily.
Yeah,
Now,
for sure.
would I rather have traded back at 10 and grab like I mean, absolutely, I'd rather have Simmons if I traded back.
Simmons is just the injury thing.
If,
Especially with the Bears, it's like we do need a guy who's going to be healthy this season.
just in case Braxton's not ready yet.
Like, I mean, that's a huge part of drafting a tackle at all. Because otherwise, why
Braxton's perfectly solid
he's a
at
free
left
agent?
tackle.
But if any of it matters this year, it's availability this year.
Yep.
And so that you don't know with Simmons. So that's a part of it.
We also needed a swing, but you wouldn't take a swing in the second. You would have just wait to get someone later that you could develop into a swing. But we definitely need a solid swing too. So like,
and
hopefully,
that also is most likely Trapillo. Like, we know he can handle right tackle for sure. Maybe not at like a Pro Bowl level, but like, I don't know, man. I don't want to say
I
too
like our
much and
tackle
get too
situation.
excited about it, but I you know, like an Eric Fisher type is how I see Trapillo, which is way more than I would have thought. You know, when I first saw his name, you know, pop up in the mock draft, select, because I wasn't watching fucking Boston College, but you know, the more I've seen out of him, and the more I just think about his player archetype, I just really do like it.
Who's the other Kansas City tackle? I was actually thinking of not Eric Fisher, the other one. The Chiefs. Mitchell Schwartz. That's how I see him, actually. More so because I see him as a more patient tackle and smarter offensive tackle. So I think he plays more within his.
Sure.
Yeah. So you said Eric Fisher, and I was thinking Casey. I'm like, no, I'm thinking Mitchell Schwartz. I see him more as a Mitchell Schwartz, just a big ass Mitchell Schwartz.
Pretty similar guys, honestly. So
yeah.
I think we both have a point there. And I think it's just tough because I wish we had Caleb Johnson. But you know, the tier difference between him and Ursary is not much. And I trust Trapillo more to be able to swing back and forth, which is big for me, especially this upcoming year if we want to be good this year.
You would really rather have Caleb Johnson.
Says
You'd rather have Caleb Johnson at tackle than is it? Wait, okay. You're saying at the Shamar Stewart pick? When did Ursay go? He went right before this pick. So you're saying instead of Shamar Stewart?
No, Ursary went between Shamar Turner,
sorry,
and Burden. Ursary went shortly after we took.
So you would rather not have Burden and have Caleb Johnson and Ursary a little bit more than what we have now?
I don't know.
That's because I would disagree.
That's what I'm positing as a possibility, but I don't know.
Because I think the tackles are same chance at least.
I think
in my mind.
The easiest way for me to do this would just be to say I wish we had Caleb Johnson instead of Shamar Turner. But I understand the Turner pick too. So it's fine. The totality of it is not going to get a failing grade. I liked 2 of the 3 picks very much. The other one, I said, sure, it's a C, whatever. I don't care about Turner. It's a C. And, maybe he could pop off and make me look like an idiot for only giving it a C. The other 2, I really like those 2 swings. So it's maybe not exactly how we do it. I would have to think about it more, but it's good. I like it a lot.
I came on a day 2 especially with those 2 picks, the Burden and the Trapillo. And I was, as I mentioned, I like the take with Turner because specifically with Shamar Turner, I don't think we needed tackle as much as we needed edge, but at that point, I don't think there was a lot of edges that I'd rather take a swing on. So I'd rather get some kind of good edge. This is what I think I told you this. We're going to end up being a interior penetrating defensive line. If we're good at it or not, we'll find out. It really depends on how these tackles turn out. But I feel like the way that we've built this defensive line is we're trying to penetrate the middle of the pocket while containing the outside, basically forcing you to basically collapsing it into the quarterback, right? Giving them no pocket to step up in and nowhere to escape on the outside, which I would prefer. Interior penetration is deadly, it's just harder to generate, right? Typically incredibly hard to generate, but if you can, it absolutely demolishes passing games.
Yeah.
I just don't. It really depends on, hey, is Dex actually going to be good and is Shamar Turner going to be good?
Yeah. Also, you still got to threaten from the edge, and I don't think we're going to do it enough. So I don't know.
It depends. Yeah.
I found it odd this entire maybe not the entire draft process, but the more I read, the more intel guys got, and it clearly turned out that way that the Bears are comfortable with their edge situation. They were not as comfortable with the interior situation, and again, that apparently is a little bit by design. Your theory, I agree with. But like, I don't think people think about injury often. like I think they think about what things will look like at full strength a little too often. But like, let's say Montez Sweat misses 6 games, then we are starting
Okay.
Austin Booker and Dio Abadango, or
Well, not
I can't remember his name.
specifically because we can throw. We have some versatility with the tackles to go
See,
outside.
that's the thing. I'm not positive
And
that
I'd
we
rather,
do.
but I would say that that's better than starting Austin Booker at edge. Hopefully, maybe
I
I'm
guess
wrong.
yeah,
Maybe
but
Austin Booker's really good.
either way, let's say that Dexter or Turner is starting out at edge. That's also not good.
Oh, I don't think Dexter would be. Dexter's I don't think has that versatility.
I've seen Dexter's name. Man, I've been visiting Windy City
No.
Gridiron a little
I
more
was
often than I
thinking like
used
because
to,
I'm pretty sure
and his
Grady
name
Jarrett.
has come up. That'd be insane. Grady Jarrett, really? He was miscast as a 3-4 defensive end. I'd hate to see him on the edge.
So I'm pretty sure he can play a little bit. I might be wrong. I might be thinking of somebody else actually because you know me.
I
I might
think
be really thinking about something else.
I think maybe the Falcons used to throw him outside for a couple snaps a game when he was far more explosive than he is now. I don't think so.
I don't need him to, but that's the thing though. Is I'm not trying to get penetration on the edge. I'm trying to make sure the run game doesn't screw me on the edge. If I can penetrate on the inside, if I can puncture the pocket and then have some kind of corner blitz, like a nickel corner blitz or something like that, coming off the edge, I don't care as much as long as I'm not. The reason why I'd be scared of Austin Booker starting every rep is I would be terrified of what that means for my contain, right?
Yeah.
Because that hurts my floor. Whereas if I don't get pressure off one side of my edge, as long as I'm getting pressure somewhere eventually within 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds, I'm pretty fucking happy with, especially with the coverage that we have. At least not that pretty fucking happy, but I'm stable. My floor hasn't died as much as I think you're thinking it would.
You're always telling me what I'm thinking.
My understanding of what you're saying is that's my. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I just think that there's a situation where Austin Booker is on the field a lot more than you want him to be.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And that is a weak link that you maybe cannot live with.
Who are the 2017 Bears edge rushers? I'm always going to go back to this when people talk about edge being bad because we had like a top 10 defense even
Leonard
then.
Floyd, Acho, and somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't good. So like
probably Pernell McPhee.
It was Pernell McPhee, I believe.
That is significantly better than. I don't know if it's significantly better than what we have now, but it's significantly better than us minus.
Okay, no, it is not even close to what we have now. You lose one of our starters, it's probably about the same.
No. Those three guys would be better than our top 3 guys if we lost one of the starters.
This was Leonard Floyd's rookie year. He wasn't. I know Leonard Floyd's gotten a lot better. You have to. Okay.
But he wasn't a minus. That's what I'm saying. Like, Booker could be a minus in every aspect, or maybe he could be good. I don't know. It's not a bet I would like to make.
Right, but I don't think Odeobio is a minus, right? But I do think that like Acho at that point in his career, and
Acho was good that year. Is the monkey wrench?
That's fair. I don't know. I would argue it's about the same, is what I'm trying to get at with the injury. And you still have the good coverage on the backside, and you've got the ability, and we've got Billings too. Like, I don't know. I think the interior does so much, and you can throw in some blitzes and like some looks that with our coverage because of that, I'm less worried about my edges. I do understand it though. We don't have any depth. We have no depth there. We have no depth at safety. We lose a safety, I'm scared as shit. Like. Oh yeah,
I'm less scared about that. I think Hicks is okay. I think Owens is even fine as a 4th.
And then if we lose Kyle Gordon, I'm scared about our nickel depth. And then our linebacker depth, if we lose what? I don't know what Sewell looks like. I love Sewell, but I don't know what he looks like. Right?
No, I was pretending like I had like big Josh Blackwell opinions. I think Blackwell's okay.
Yeah, but
Would certainly make the defense a lot less dynamic. You'd be losing. You'd be trading like just a fucking animal ass borderline Pro Bowl nickel if they made nickels.
You also hurt your run game.
A Pro Bowl nickel for just a guy who just does the job. And that would be,
I'd be more worried about a run defense though when that happens, if that makes sense. I think Blackwell's a damn good like coverage, like for coverage.
I 90% agree with you, except Kyler's also very good in coverage. I think just the ability to play nickel against whatever look would be lost. That would stink. Anyway, back to the original point because we're almost off of it. We can get into something else in a second. There is a reason that teams load up on edge rushers. There are multiple ways to skin a cat, but most teams do not have Austin Booker as their in-name third edge. It is weird to me to see that Austin Booker is probably your third edge and to say, yeah, we are good here. It's not about it. It's not even about the level of prioritization. It's just, can you just do one little extra thing to make sure that is papered over just a little bit here?
Booker is, unless Booker he might take a step, who knows? But what we know of Booker, yeah, he should be like a 4 or 5, like your edge 4 or 5 at best. But that said, and this is where you and I always get into discussions on this. Most teams barely have a first edge before they start getting like an edge 3, and then they have a couple edge 3s, right? Like so they have better than Booker as their 3. But they're usually.
I feel like almost every team makes more of an effort though. And granted, the
little edges. That's why they're so valuable. There's so few that we just gave him $18 million a year, so he's making more than a lot of solid starters at other positions. Like he's making close to top center money and close to top wide receiver money, because even as like a guy that you and I probably say is more of an edge 3, right? Because there's none of them. They're that rare. So it's like, so they're making effort, but maybe you're actually doing a bad job allocating your resources by putting so much of your resources in something that's so hard to hit.
So that's what I was about to grant. A lot of resources are put into it, and maybe that is not good to do. But man,
the defensive tackle is a lot easier to hit on, I think. And it's weird because it's harder to make. I feel like it's actually gotten easier over the past few years to get interior pressure.
I guess I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think at least the last 4 or 5 years, we have seen a shift in the talent that's coming into the NFL, where we've seen more interior penetration guys than we've seen exterior. Like we haven't seen a lot of great edges.
Let me ask you this though. Along those same lines. So last year, when the defense started off playing really well, right? Mm-hmm. And when Billings got hurt, it was the beginning of things going downhill a bit. But when
there's a few things that happened, but yeah,
sure. But let's sticking to the interior at least. Like Billings getting hurt was one of the first bad things that happened. Billings and Dexter rushing from the inside with occasional help from DeMarcus Walker in nickel. And then Chris Williams, who's going to make the team as well, I think, doing okay there. Did you get the feeling that for whatever our issues might have been, even when things are going well, that the interior was an issue, like at all?
When Billings was there? No, not at all. But I can see where
it's odd to overpay for Jarrett, granted, and then to use second round capital on Turner, and then just be like, well, we're good at edge.
We had issues.
It's a little odd to me.
We had issues at times late in the game, or like longer drives, because you're looking at two guys who are getting winded. Like some of those long third downs that we got beat out, we didn't have our best 4 out there for a reason.
I thought Williams gave us good snaps. I thought Walker gave okay snaps. I'm
talking about our defensive tackles though, and Billings, like he's coming off an injury. right? So like, I hear you. What I'm trying to say is you want to get those guys breathers. We go 4 deep. We now have two pairs of defensive tackles that can
Right, so now
come
we
in.
go 5 deep. It seems
Who's wait?
I don't know,
Okay,
just a little too because Chris Williams is
right,
fine.
but
He's fine. And
yeah,
I think that's part of
okay,
the plan. That's a part of the plan. I think it all goes into what you're saying. I'm
but you
just
need
saying
Dex to
I
either
think we
take another
maybe
step.
overcorrected by like one guy there, and maybe should put one more guy here. Is all I'm saying. Because 4 deep
Right.
is good. That's two
So
more deep. It's
I
one and a
gotta.
half more deep than we had last year.
You're higher on Grady Jarrett than I am. I'm more worried, I should say, based off of what we saw. I think this was a insurance piece on top of if I'm grabbing a defensive tackle in the second, it might take a couple years too. So let's.
Okay. I don't want to cut you off too much here.
You also know about Dex, and if he gets
Regardless of whether I'm high on him, they paid him a lot of money.
right. So you
And,
assume that that's what they think.
It's all kind of fun money, but like
Yeah.
he sticks to his valuation.
You always back things up, though.
I think he valued him as something important.
Right. But if I'm going into this year saying we need to get penetration from the middle, if for some reason Dex takes a step back, or Grady Jarrett isn't the guy that I just paid the money to, and I kind of screwed ourselves, but it's okay. I should have taken that swing anyway. You might as well.
Or
I should have it. I need some kind of insurance plan. If that means I have one extra defensive tackle for a year or two, cool. I want as many guys there and on edge as I can. It's just harder to find edges right now, I feel like. Right. So
here's where I'm gonna get a little bit conspiracy brained, because this is the type of guy that the fans really love, and then you find out they released him, and then you find out that the new defense coordinator didn't like him, and you end up talking yourself into it. But I'm just gonna say, in foresight, conspiracy brain to me is thinking maybe Andrew Billings is not necessarily fitting into the plans.
oh, that would hurt. Mostly because I really liked when we signed Billings.
But isn't he the exact caliber of guy that, like, a team you're not a fan of releases, and you're like, why the hell they release that guy?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you that he's the exact caliber of guy.
It just seems like there's
I don't see why you would do it, though.
Too many. It just seems like there's one too many, because Chris Williams is a totally good fourth defensive tackle.
I think that
Dex
is the reason why, because I think that while he looked as a late second round pick or mid second round pick in his second year, you can see the flashes and see where he's doing well. I think people who say he looks like he's going to be a good defensive tackle, I'm like, he might be average at best with where he ends up falling, because that's what he can show. Sometimes he shows flashes, but it's so inconsistent that I could see him really falling. And I think that's actually why they're making it.
Is
not there.
Really bad
versus what we expected. Absolutely not there. So, like, I personally think that if we're going to talk about which one of those guys and actually be honest about the four, which one of those guys will fall off, I think you have a little bit of concern about Grady Jarrett. So it's like I already come in with that little bit of concern, but then I'm also looking at the guy that I'm expecting to take another step, and I'm worried that he might not even be the guy who's ready to take another step. So I need to come in with an insurance plan, and that's kind of why I was like this. You take this for that insurance plan. That's where I'm being fully honest. It's Dax that worries me the most.
Yeah. Okay, I'm giving us like a hard
we should probably we've been on
45 minutes at most, and if we do that, we're insane for doing that.
No, I don't want to talk too much about the day 3 guys. I think we've done a good job of going over the guys for second round. I just want to quickly say, I like what's going on the offense. I think we've filled all the holes on the offensive line. I actually think we have offensive line depth at this point. Pending, like, if Brax is completely wasted, we still need a swing tackle, but I don't expect that. I expect Brax to at least have swing tackle performance if he's not fully healthy. So at that point, I'm like, I feel good about all the pieces we've thrown at tackle to say some kind of combination is going to work out.
Yeah, I think we'll end up releasing an interior offensive lineman who's capable of making somebody else's roster, which is not something that we can usually say.
Because the other thing is, our backups were our starters last year, and some of them were pretty good. Even as starters, not like good, but like they did quality job as backups filling in role. So we already have depth there. We just need those starters, and we brought them in. So I feel comfortable with what's going on there. Also, we got brought in a day 3 guy. We'll talk about him in a second. Who I'm actually curious about. But I want to just say everything outside of running back, I'm like, we got depth like crazy. And then you go to our defense, and it's like there are position groups where I'm worried that somebody will fall, but I still feel comfortable that like as long as you don't lose a linebacker, and you're right, we could probably go without a safety. If we don't lose a linebacker and we mitigate the impact at edge if we lose one of them, I feel fine. Even linebacker, because I've already told you how I felt about Sewell, and then we'll talk about Hippolyte. Hippolyte might actually be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. It's funny though that it's complete flip of a script from last year, where it's like, well, okay, nickel corner I had an issue with, but outside of that, we had so much depth in a few different places. That's just been an issue forever. I was only worried about safety and like that nickel spot. Now I feel like I'm like, there are a lot of different positional groups on defense where I'm like, we have the least amount of depth on defense, whereas before I thought we had the least amount of depth on offense.
Yeah.
And I feel like the offensive rebuild's done.
All right. Well, we have all off season to get into the, I guess the team that we have. But I will say, so speaking of guys that we let go for reasons that make you go, and then you eventually kind of talk yourself into it. We let Sanborn go. So,
the price, I don't get it. That's the issue that I have.
He did end up signing for like $2 million less than the tender. That's all I can.
Yep.
That's how I could sleep at night, I guess.
And he might not have wanted to sign with us even if we offered him more because he wanted to go play with what's it called?
Well, the tender was the tender. So probably I think we.
Wait, so if we saw him, it's like we would have done
the
tender. But let's say they valued him at like 1.5 at most. He signed for like what? Was it 1.2?
I don't remember.
It was low. So like it was half than the tender. Let's say we signed him for 75% of the tender because that's what we thought the most of his value. He still might have offered him that, and he might have been like, no, I want to go play for Eberflus.
Okay.
But go on.
So anyway, this discussion could only possibly be relevant to this episode if we bring in Ruben Hippolyte a little bit. I wonder what they are doing. Like, do they like Sewell a lot? I that's my guess. I think they probably do like Sewell a lot. I bet Dennis Allen is a fan of Noah Sewell.
It's hard because he's barely practiced too because of injuries. That I wonder if they don't. You know how much I like Sewell coming out. When I went to go watch this film after the draft, I saw a linebacker who was learning a brand new defense last year and learning it by a very complex, the Dan Lanning's defense, which is fairly complex. Learning those rules by like week 6, it's starting to thrive.
Right. You liked the famously, just to break it down, you liked the game film that was not his senior game film, which is not as good as his junior game film because it showed a guy who was learning a complex system, basically.
Yeah, whereas his junior game film, they run like a 3-3-5 gimmicky college defense, which like, hey, we're going to tell you where to go and you're just going to go. And that's a lot of college. Evaluating linebackers is very hard because a lot of defenses do not allow their linebackers to think. And in the NFL, that no longer is the case. You like, unless you're like, what's it called? Why do I always forget his name? I bring him up all the damn time from Kansas City. Unless you're playing your guy like that.
Yeah. I guess I'll say the name, Leo Chenal.
Thank you. I was waiting for you. Thank you. Unless you're like,
I'm more so Leo Chenal's playing
the
the Sandbacker who's just like either you're rushing or you're doing this, and you don't have a lot to think about, which is kind of Chenal.
Yeah, it's in they throw him on some blitzes and stuff like that too. It's like go this is your lane, hit it. And then so like in college, a lot of times it's not like you're not playing 7, like all of your linebackers are like your assignment, just go do it. We're not asking you to read and scrape this way.
But most guys
do flow.
Most guys you do, and that's important in the evaluation process.
And so like with the NFL, when you're evaluating them, the NFL does. You're mostly going to be asking them to do that. Because otherwise what you get is, oh, hey, I just saw this look, and why the hell am I 3 steps towards the offensive line when it's a play action pass and now the guy's behind me? You're going to get destroyed. So
that said, anyway, You like Sewell.
I saw that. I guess what I was
We haven't
getting
seen
with
a lot of
Sewell
him.
was I saw that at the end of his year, and I'm like, okay, cool. That's rare to see within college linebackers. And now that I'm seeing that, I think he's got the IQ because if I can get those steps in, blah blah blah. His other film was very much so. Oh my god, I'm fast and athletic, and I'm being told to blitz. Coming back, maybe they like Sewell, maybe they don't. I would hope that they do, but he's been injured and not practicing. That I worry that they've soured on him. The front
Well, so
office.
I kind of suspect that Amen Ogbong Bamiga, I think. I
Mhm.
suspect nobody really has a strong opinion on him as a actual linebacker versus special teams guy. So that brings me to Hippolyte. And I guess more so the idea of drafting a linebacker that, again, I'm not sure if I brought up on the episode that was actually published, but definitely got more into it in the next episode. They wanted to get a linebacker for good reason. They need a linebacker. Neither you nor I can speak much on Hippolyte
He's just athletic.
except for this idea that I think you can agree on whether or not it applies to the Bears or not, once the games start playing. It is typically bad to take a guy who is ranked as like the 350th best player in the 4th round. It is typically not correct.
So I'll say this: when you get to day 3, you start seeing picks that get swung from like every which way. Like the board goes out the window. But in the 4th round, we're towards the point in the draft where I stop caring. I'll be honest with you, but we're not quite there yet.
Listen,
Around like
with
150, I stopped caring completely, dude. If you want to take some guy I've never even fucking heard of, do it because that's
right,
where the board.
Adam,
Yeah,
real quick though, would we agree that I just
I agree
showed
with you. That's what I'm trying to say.
I know, hang on. I just showed an understanding of reaches are bad and steals don't really exist in the 4th round. I just showed a total understanding of that, correct?
Yes, except the reaches are bad. Stop mattering after the top 100 according to the analytics. They don't
Doesn't-
have any. But that's what I'm getting at.
Did I show enough of an understanding that no matter what I say next, you're not gonna lose your mind?
Yes.
They should have taken Jack Sawyer instead of Ruben Hippolyte. Just obviously,
Oh
they
yeah.
should have done that.
Oh yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. So that but that comes back to day 3. I know that that's a steal. I see what you're saying because all the guys passed on
I
him.
showed understanding.
No.
I still don't care. Just take
Yeah.
Jack Sawyer. He's
I would take Jack Sawyer.
definitely at worst an edge 4, probably an edge 3. I don't
Where
care.
did he end up going? How much further?
Pittsburgh, the team that's always right about this type of shit.
Yeah. I don't understand. Okay. So I don't believe in taking 3rd round or later edge swings because they hit rate on them is less than 10%. That's starting from the 3rd round. The hit round on them is like less than 10% to be. And we're talking like maybe I'll give you a low second contract, right?
Well, you could like immediately
You're
understand
tier
why
3
that happened to
starter,
Sawyer. He's not a super athletic
yeah,
guy. He's like a
right? But what I'm trying to
you
say
know.
is typically I wouldn't, and so I hate that I'm arguing this because it goes against my own values. But as I would take Jack Sawyer. I'd edge.
You just got to say it. You got to say it. And if we get proven wrong and we look stupid, fine. But
just been
occasionally you got to
damn
stray from the
productive.
analytics and just say, man, the guy.
Right. He's been damn productive. He's a damn good player. Like
5-star recruit. It's not like he's nothing.
yeah, I don't get it.
Like we get it. He's not the bendy, that type of guy. But he's
And the teams that
made plays on a championship-winning team, and yeah, that's not always gonna work out to much more than a practice squad player. But like, man, that sure seems like a shot worth taking at that point.
Great. The Steelers and the Ravens would be the 2 teams that would be like, if you take a 3rd or later edge rusher, I'm not gonna expect so like with the Ravens, I'm gonna expect them to be very good later, but they're gonna get production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably would have dropped it if the Steelers hadn't done it. Because the Steelers did the same thing with, there's no comparison. There's obviously no comparison besides their skin color. But TJ Watt was another example of this dude is obviously really, really like I'm not going to say I thought he was a top 10 pick, but I thought he was a top 15, 20 pick, and then he fell to like 28. And I was like, what are the rest of you doing? Like, the Steelers are just going to clean up on the guys who aren't like super
Very
bendy
different
and
here. But yeah, it was like Sawyer's more like obviously a top 100 pick. I think in both of our minds, top 75.
yeah. It's
And now he's
not
going
the same thing, but it's the I don't want to say anything I'm going to regret, but there's the there's a certain market correction that I guess the Steelers are making.
You're not going to compare to Mason Crosby next. And now he's a day 3.
Max Crosby. Now you screwed up. You screwed up.
And now he's a day 3 edge. It's going to be really good now.
I was saying that the ceiling is obviously not there, but there's production. There's the technical know-how. There's all the fucking stereotypical things that are usually wrong, but they are probably right with Sawyer. And it's like, just take that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I agree there. Let's see what they do with Hippolyte. Me and athletic linebackers. It's like, cool. So I haven't watched this film. To be clear, I haven't watched this film.
That's the other thing.
If you're taking a linebacker
like,
strictly
if he's that athletic, then what was he doing wrong on the field?
Yeah. I haven't watched this film. I don't know if he's gotten better towards the end. Maybe they saw something later. Like, again, it goes back to like Sewell. Maybe there was something that clicked that he started to see things better. So now all of a sudden you've got the athleticism plus, hey, he can see the field. I don't know, so I don't want to speculate. But when you draft a linebacker strictly based off of athleticism, one of two things. They fall out the league in 2 years, or it takes them 5 years to figure it out.
Right. I think, Quincy
because
Williams.
It's hard.
Quincy Williams is... Honestly, Quincy Williams came to mind the second I saw him take Hippolyte, because I'll be honest, I know most players in this draft. I know most players in any draft. I don't know who Ruben Hippolyte is. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him play and just didn't pick up on him. That's not a good thing.
He's the first player that you don't have a scouting report from the Beast on the Athletic. From God, when I'm blanking on my Brugler.
Wait,
Brugler doesn't. He hasn't. What?
That cannot possibly be true.
He doesn't have a write-up, but he's in there. He's ranked. He is in there, so Brugler didn't have to go back and get it. But I believe he was the one that didn't have a write-up on him. So when you don't have a write-up from there, and that's where it's like, I don't think a lot of people know.
Listen, you're going to Vegas right now, and they're telling you to, spend $1,000 on a Bears guy not living up to his draft slot. You're going Ruben Hippolyte. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like there's a lot of just anecdotal indicators that it's not gonna go well. But
I don't know what they see. But
Quincy, I go back to Quincy Williams, a very similar pick by the Jaguars at the time. I don't know, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. Everyone's like, why'd they do that? Quincy Williams is currently a really good linebacker. He did not become a good linebacker on the Jaguars, but
it comes back to
I don't know. It's a little something to hold on to if you really want to pretend that Ruben Hippolyte might become anything. The other thing is, so I was trying to think about this when we're doing our mock draft. What are the linebackers that Dennis Allen has liked? It's been like kind of athletic-y type guys like Alex Anzalone and Pete Werner. And I don't know if he was there for Stephon Anthony, the bust in the first round, and I don't think he was there. Anyway, I get it. He does like athleticism. Maybe he doesn't ask his linebackers to do quite as much as
he blitzes
it's speculation. Too, so. Maybe he sees something, but like I would have liked a quick Sanborn replacement, and I have a lot more faith in your random UDFA guy who had 100 tackles at Wisconsin or some better school than Maryland,
and to be fair,
to step in right away than Ruben Hippolyte, who seems like a 3-year project that we just end up releasing.
And just to throw this out with Dennis Allen, I don't think he does ask as much from his guys because he does throw up a lot more blitzes. He's going to be in man a lot more, right? So you're not thinking about your zone leverages and everything like that. You're not as smart as like a zone defender, which can be very difficult. You just need to be more athletic on the man coverage. At that point, though, you still have to be reading your keys on like the run defense and pass, stuff like that. There's still things you're looking for specifically, like RPOs, for instance, and not making sure you know when the hell you're in conflict and stuff like that.
So
But
I know he blitzes, but just based on personnel, I feel like he wants his Demario Davis, his guy who's going to do everything, and that's hoping that's TJ. TJ's going to have to play more like it's 2023 and 2024. Edmonds is kind of just a go do what we tell you type of guy, for as experienced as he is. He's a do whatever you're told. It's like, I think as long as he has his Demario Davis, or in this case, hopefully TJ, maybe the other guys aren't so important. But like schematically, I don't really know. But granted, Demario Davis is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the Saints.
This is why I don't like about losing Sanborn is if TJ goes down, I worry about our linebackers.
Right. It's if the one guy goes down. This is not my main spot, but it's definitely my number 2 spot, especially because I expect to release Tremaine Edmonds after the season, almost regardless of anything. Really would like something better in the can.
Yep. I was expecting to cut him this season. So,
yeah, I guess no reason yet. And he's certainly, I mean, it would be a disaster to
not have him
go with anything else. But yeah, I'm not. And even TJ was not very good last year.
He was fine. He wasn't as good.
I'll say this. In 2023, I could not tell much of a difference between him and prime Lance Briggs. And this season, I could very much tell that difference.
Yeah. I wonder, though, how much of that had to do with once Billings went down. And I don't remember how he was doing early on versus after Billings went down. Like, once we started to really lose that ability to stop the run up front, how much of that affected him? Because at a certain point, it's like a linebacker. The one thing that I liked about him a lot versus, say, like Roquan, is he scrapes and can move through traffic better. But once you've got that much traffic in your face, it ain't good. And anyone who wants to yell at me and complain about that, go watch Roquan when he doesn't have as much in front of him on the Ravens. Even his run defense got worse this year.
We cannot do Roquan. We cannot do Roquan.
Gotta throw that out there.
We don't have the time.
Even a little bit starts to mess with him. He's so much better just flowing. If you can have him flow in like a 2 gap, and that's where he's a stud.
Yeah. Well, maybe Hippolyte would also be good at that. Let's just keep this stuff up.
Honestly, probably. Let's keep going. Let's go on to was Saw Frazier next.
Yeah,
That's an intriguing one.
Nothing much to say about Zaw Frazier, except if you're going to take a lottery ticket, take one who was generally ranked in the area that he was drafted and is 6'3" and runs a 4.3 whatever, and also I think had 5 or 6 interceptions last year.
Yep. So typically not the kind of corner that I care about as much, but this is Dennis Allen's defense.
Oh yeah.
This makes a lot of sense. This is a swing that makes a ton of sense. I'm actually kind of excited. I'm excited to see like if he can give Derek Stevenson a run for his money for this kind of defense, right? Like, it's a 5th rounder. I know that like it is a very low chance, but it's a nice swing. It's in my mind. There's some upside here considering the scheme.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Again, go to Vegas and put money on him becoming anything at all. You're very likely to lose. You're going to get very good odds. But in terms of swings, this hits all of the check marks for me. Again, even production is there. He had like 6 interceptions last year, something like that. I like, not that interceptions is everything out of a corner, but making plays on the ball. He's long. He's fast. Like, yeah. Take one of those every year. One of them's going to hit. 2 of them might hit.
Yep, I agree. There are certain positions where I think taking a day 3 swing is smart as hell, and corner is definitely one of them.
I want to actually make sure I'm not crazy here because I might have just made a little connection.
What we got?
So, can you think of a guy who he reminds you of as a similar recent late round swing who worked out nicely?
The Saints, that used to play for, was it Stanford? One of the Pac-12 teams.
No, so I was thinking of
who am I thinking of?
Reek Woolen for the Seahawks.
Oh, yes, you're right. No, you're right, Tarek Woolen.
Same general draft range, and you know what I just realized?
What's it called?
Same school.
No shit. No
It's kind of
way.
interesting, huh?
You know what? Actually, I think I knew that specifically because I remember them saying, like, whoever I was listening to talking about this, saying something around the lines of, you gotta wonder if this works out too, like what the school is doing and how they're using it, because that happens sometimes where you get that same kind of school, same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
The edge rushers from Texas A&M. That's a big thing. Like, they don't have production. Both of them go early, and that's something that happens sometimes at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They don't have production, and their guys end up being pretty good edge rushers, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing schematically that you guys are going for these same type of people, but
Even
they're not
before
going
they,
early? But
even before they both work out, that they're both the same type of prospect, long and fast. Like, probably would have been playing receiver at most other schools, would be my guess.
Yep.
Because how are these unicorns coming out of this one small,
Yep.
pretty good,
and they do well there.
G5 school?
Unlike A&M, where you get the no production, these guys are doing well. Like, God, why am I blanking on his full name with the Seahawks? Jesus. He still had Tariq Woolen. I want to say Stevenson, so I stopped myself, and I'm like, geez, now I can't remember it. Tariq Woolen. Even he had his production. It's just a smaller school, right? Like, what are they doing to coach these guys up? That kind of size too, that kind of like height and length. That's hard at corner to do the things that they're doing, because it's hard to change of direction when you have to be reactive at that kind of size. That's not easy. That's why corners typically are a lot shorter.
But then I would Dennis Allen is a little middle field closed heavier than average.
But he's more cover 1 than cover 3, right? So they're gonna be shifting to, like, you're not just covering the sideline, you're gonna be working inside too. You're doing it's not man on demand, it's man everywhere they go. Meg.
I wonder because, like, so Paulson Adebo is an example of a long.
That's what I was thinking of, was Paulson Adebo. Thank you.
Who worked until he got hurt. But he also was not quite the speed freak that these two guys are.
Was he this?
I don't know. I we're both talking
Stanford. I was right. So you asked me day 3 guy, and I was saying Stanford went to the Saints. Paulson Adebo. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah. I couldn't remember the name.
Reek is more recent, and I was obviously just trying to make the connection. But yeah, Adebo.
It's kind of funny, though, that
I don't think quite as fast.
I don't think so either, yeah.
But a former receiver who
4.4
moved to corner.
Hey, nah, not that fast, but like for a corner, 4.4 is good. It's not great.
Oh, still quite fast, but yeah, not freak level like.
There's a lot more
and Reek. However, yeah, I guess when we do our hot take episode later this year, we're just gonna have to take off the table that Za Frazier is the second starting cornerback week 6, because I think we've both talked ourselves into that, right?
Yeah, I like this pick a lot, man.
Yeah, big rules. Damn, we're good at corner. I will say I like Jalen Jones as a infrequent sub. I never thought he really hurt us all that much, but like, yeah, time to cycle that out and get something more developmental in here. And even better would have been if Will Johnson were healthy and just taking him at 10. But cycle through some corners. That contract has ended. This contract has started. This is exactly what to do. I like it a lot. It's an upgrade, I think, immediately on Jones, honestly, and
which
man,
also
I
helps
feel like
a lot.
This could be really good.
It also helps a lot because you also have Charles Smith, right? We're really deep on outside corner. So, and the big thing there is, like, if we can cover for 2.5 to 3 seconds, that's where I always come back to, like, okay, get some, like, you just can't be dead at penetration. So it's like we cover up our deficiencies on edge, on our edge rusher, especially since we've got good interior, and we allow ourselves to blitz more because we've got so many good cover corners, right? It's nice. Like, you lose a couple, you could lose a guy or two and still be pretty decent.
It's a symbiotic relationship that you never want it to go too far in one direction or the other.
I would say that coverage sets your floor, though. Coverage always sets your floor.
Yeah, I don't think, and I wouldn't even say that it's gone too far in one direction. I think it's a nice mix. I would rather, I'd like to take a cue from the Eagles, who hit on almost every edge rusher they ever take, and but yeah,
I mean, yeah, I agree with you there, and I think with them, right? So their corners really screwed them last year, and then they went out and they grabbed a bunch of really good corners. They got lucky as hell with that, like with the guys falling to them. Just like, thanks, just give it to Howie. Like, love both of those guys, and then that helped them a ton to make sure that they can not have their defense looks fantastic. Then actually, it made their investments on defensive line look better the next year. Investments that didn't look as good.
I gotta say,
Look
no
great.
such thing as a steal. Cooper DeJean last year was a board steal.
Yep.
I'm wondering if the league is racist against Big Ten players. Truly. I know I set that up to be. I know I set that thing up to be expected, but really,
white corners, that just doesn't happen. Let's be fair. Like, come on.
The two that are in the league right now are good. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But no, I was.
That's why there's only two, though.
I want to clarify. I was setting it up to be a fake white guy joke, but I do think there might be something to look into there where I do feel like the Big Ten just plays a totally different brand of football than the rest of the nation. Like, Big Ten is not mush rushing much. They're playing closer to NFL style football, and I think they're projecting the other guys, whereas they're discounting the guys who are just basically doing it.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a theory.
And potentially, I could see that's. I think that's a good point.
Like, I think JT Tuimoloau, who's not strictly a white guy, I don't know what he is. I think that's another example. He should not have fallen that far.
Yeah, but okay, so I'm trying to remember what the hell Northwestern played when.
Hell, Travion Henderson should not have fallen that far in a draft with, I don't know, not that many things that were not good running backs.
It's a little different. I can see your point, though, because if I'm thinking about the Big Ten defenses, like Ohio State, Michigan,
they all do normal shit. Penn State, they all do normal ass shit.
I don't know about some of the other schools, but I know
Illinois does normal shit. I know that for sure.
Yep. So, like, that's where I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what you're saying there, and that's a fair point. I'm trying to remember all the
Iowa
Big Ten
does normal shit.
Iowa does normal shit too. That's I love that great defense. Terrible offense.
Wisconsin does normal shit.
Mm-hmm. Very traditional on both sides of the ball when you think about it, for the most part. Yeah. A lot of teams.
Well, we've at least started, I would say that we've started spreading out a little bit more.
Yep. But like Penn State, Michigan, and Wisconsin,
the course correction
Iowa
like the course correction has not become 3-3-5. It's maybe 4-2-5 in some spots, but usually there's a 4-3 or 3-4 base to the defense, and we just do a traditional 4.
We don't have any. Does
rush
Penn State run
guys?
Doesn't Penn State run some 3 safety, 3 high? No, I think sometimes.
I don't think so. Ohio State sold multiple, and now Penn State will be as a result because they sold the defensive coordinator. But I don't think it's anything.
I think we have.
I don't think it's anything so crazy that you wouldn't see in the NFL.
Yeah, there's I mean, the NFL sometimes. I think can't remember. It was gimmicky, like on a couple plays. It wasn't like they ran it all the time. But like a 3 safety, 3 high look is such a wild thing in college football right now. It's so interesting. Yeah. Sorry,
I digress. I don't know what the reason that a Cooper DeJean falls. It might be
it's an interesting thought,
obvious reason, but I think I don't know. I think maybe maybe Big Ten players are being a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought.
And as a Big Ten lover, I mean, that brand, I'd rather watch Big Ten, just some random Big Ten game. I'm getting way off course. I also love ACC football. I don't like the other two conferences that much.
I hate ACC football. I don't mind.
ACC football's got nothing to do with the schematics because ACC is also fucked with most of the types of defense they run. But I just like watching a Big Ten game. I just do. It just looks the most like real football to me.
I think that so my SEC teams that I watch
nowadays.
Yes. So here's the issue is like I didn't watch a lot of Bama defense last year because obvious reasons. I was more so intrigued by that offense and what Kalen DeBoer was going to do. Even though their defense was still pretty good.
Yeah.
But I do specifically when I'm watching the SEC, I'm watching the big teams. I'm not watching the other teams all that much. And that's specifically because of Sophia, right? And like whatever the hell's on, I'm going to pay attention to Georgia. I obviously have to. And I'm getting a Kirby Smart defense at that point. So I'm enjoying it. The
No match for Notre Dame, a spiritual Big Ten team.
Big 12 for a little bit got super gimmicky. They're starting to get a little bit better, but now I don't even know what the hell is in the Big 12 because it's just changed so much. Like,
I believe Texas Tech has started running a real defense.
Yeah,
and now they're running it with like $20 million worth of NIL transfers, which is going to be fun.
But they are the ones.
But yeah,
that is the conference that did the 3 high
a little bit. Yeah,
and I think that is the conference that started the 3 high safety look.
It used to be, and it still is to some extent impossible to scout an Oklahoma or a Texas player when they were in the Big 12. You couldn't. I had no idea what the hell I was looking at.
It's fun because I'm not gonna get into too many details, but the Pac-12 though for a good bit. I mean USC, you even before what's his name went over there, Lincoln Riley went over there. I've never been able to scout USC since the 2010s on. It's been so hard to understand anything that they've had.
I was gonna say I sucked in the Carroll days, but I guess to my credit, I was like 16. So
yeah, I was gonna say Carroll's probably back when it was more normal. Stanford's like the one offense where I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense because you guys just keep running pro style shit. Thank you.
Stop doing that, by the way, guys.
Yeah, right. Thanks for running a 90.
We're hitting my limit, and we have still more
stuff
to talk about. But
it's just fun.
Do you know who their coach got fired for some scandal? Do you know who their new head coach is?
No, is it? I feel like I do.
So
what is it?
Andrew Luck is the new GM.
Seriously?
He's their general manager.
Wait, they have colleges have general managers? I thought they had ADs.
They do now. They do with NIL.
Okay.
Teams are not everyone does it, but most of them have GMs that handle the NIL and the transfer portal.
Got it.
When Tory Taylor got fired, they hired Frank Reich with the caveat that he will only be there for 1 year. They will absolutely be hiring a new guy the next year, unless he goes crazy and wins a bunch of games. But that was the thing. So now they're running Frank Reich.
I mean,
isn't that wild?
That is wild. Also, but the 1 year thing makes it even more wild.
They were so clear this is just for this year.
If I'm Frank, screw it. I get it. What is he gonna do? Is like, let me get another chance to coach. I'll take it as a head coach instead of going back to the assistant.
But he has to use all of the previous coaches' assistants because all those guys are still there.
Why would you take that? Just go off and be an OC somewhere, or like on someone's maybe not an OC. I don't know if people are gonna.
I don't know. Quarterback. Yeah. He could be a quarterback coach.
Yeah,
he could be a good quarterback coach.
Probably make just
a quarterback coach in college for a good team.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, he'd probably just make as much as a quarterback coach in the NFL. You're not making as much as a head coach in college.
Generally, I think it was a mutual favor, Luck and Reich. I don't know, just weird how that turned out. Anyway, let's move on to so we like Za. The next pick, I don't think either of us have anything to say about it. Besides this also was a little bit too off the board for my liking, but in the 6th round, who cares? It was Luke Newman.
So
college tackle, pro guard.
I am intrigued by it.
Are you?
That's it. Just IOL, take a tackle that you're moving in. Intrigued. Try it. Why not? That's it.
Anything about his performance? I mean, it's fine. I just don't.
I
don't know much.
I don't know much about him. I think I've listened to a couple people that I would trust to be like, yeah, no, it's like a good swing to take him. I'm not going to get into details about it because it's been a while since I listened to those and I haven't watched. But I've told you this a few times, and I've said this on this podcast a few times. Take swings on offensive line in day 3. I don't give a shit who it is. Just take swings because you don't know who's going to be the next guy to come in and like be really damn good. Because I know a lot of people are like draft all your offensive line in. Look at the Eagles; they draft so much trenches. Blah 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 blah. After their trenches came, like even when they had Jason Kelsey was a 6th rounder. Like you find guys that are quality offensive linemen just anywhere randomly. So I think it's a good swing. That's it. I would do this every year. Draft some dudes, draft your offensive linemen in day 3 to make sure that you maybe find somebody who can then step up and take over for other people or becomes like a stud. So that's it.
Certainly, if you're hoping they could play guard, take one that played tackle at a relatively high level. Michigan State's not, amazing, but it's a Big Ten school. And as we established, there is a major bias against Big Ten players. So yeah, I don't mind it. I think he's maybe competing with maybe competing with Bill Murray, or maybe Doug Kramer if he could play center. Beatable, both beatable.
Definitely can beat up Doug Kramer. Murray.
We can't say that we know much about Murray.
Yeah.
We already know that Murray had the one good game, but we don't know.
Yeah, I'm saying like Kramer's on there. If Kramer's still on this team, and Newman gets cut, and it's specifically to be a backup interior offensive lineman, I'm gonna have some issues with Newman too because I know what Kramer's floor is what I'm really trying to say, or what Kramer is as an offensive lineman, as our fullback. Damn it! If he's not on the team because he's our fullback, then I'm scared. I don't know. I know that he'd be like our last offensive lineman on that. We'd have to lose a lot of guys, but no, I do not.
I don't know if I said it on here, but I remember being laughing at my own little run that I went on of how Johnson, how he used Dan Skipper a lot as a fifth or like a receiving threat and little trick plays. Like I wonder if he was like his ultimate project. He's like, I'm gonna make Doug Kramer into like an awesome like running back. Basically, I'm gonna hand that guy the ball. That's why we didn't draft a running back until the next guy we're about to talk to. We have a lot of faith in Doug Kramer.
He looked at that fumble last year and then never giving him a second. He's like, "Watch me make this work, bitches."
Well, fumbling can be a market inefficiency. So like people were down on Tiki Barber until he learned how to carry the ball in a different way. So like
learn to take a handoff.
Yeah, Kramer.
Not that hard.
Kramer fumbles, but like let's look past the fumbles. Let's look at the production of when
that was a handoff.
If you eliminate all carries that he's fumbled, he has no negative plays.
Yeah, it's that dude though he's not, in my opinion, an interior offensive lineman. He's on his ass too much. He does not have, even when I think he did have to play for us a little bit, it was not good. It was
so opportunities there for Newman. And yeah, I mean, let's say Bill Murray is good. Let's say Bill Murray is good.
I'd say Bill Murray's bad, but he's fine as like your last guy.
No, let's as a given say that Bill Murray is actually good. We don't know what school he came from. He certainly was not supposed to be drafted, and he was not. Sometimes guys just pop up. So yeah, there's no reason. I don't care. This guy wasn't ranked. Whatever.
Yeah, I see Newman going on the practice squad or something like that. Is kind of where I'm getting at. It's like I could see that happening, and probably fine in like 2 years.
Maybe he could be the guy. Who knows?
Yeah, we do have a depth though, is what I'm trying to get at. So like, if he makes the practice squad, I'm not going to be upset if he's not on the roster because there's potential that Bill Murray is actually good. We got enough depth, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. And then maybe in a few years he does something. So let's not judge that pick until we see how it turns out.
All right.
Last one.
I got to pee. Do you have enough thoughts to carry us on Kyle Monungai?
I do not, but I will bring up the
running backs. Just talk about running backs.
Oh,
talk about running backs.
Oh, how the Bears basically got screwed.
Having or not drafted running back until just now.
Yeah. Yep. So, as everyone knows, the Bears kind of basically got shafted by how the board fell at running back. Because honestly, you see Henderson go the pick before you, and you're like, oh, hey, that's cool. I think Caleb Johnson went right before 109. Not Caleb Johnson. Scadaboo went right before 109. And because Scadaboo went right before 109 in the 4th round, it's like, okay, maybe we don't need this 109th. Let's trade back to the Bills. Let's switch that 109th pick again with the Bills specifically, and just keep going back and forth with them. And trade back. I had a big thing about eventually getting Devin Neal, and they waited to grab, and then he went, you know, right before they were able to get an young guy. So I'm curious how many running backs, and obviously Poles admitted to the fact that uh the board didn't fall their way at running back. I'm curious how many damn times it did not fall their way, because it feels like it was a lot. Now,
Feels like at least 3.
yeah, at least 3.
Feels like so Henderson, obviously, Skadabo, and I think Basil Tootin. They were expecting one of those 2 guys, and neither of them were there. And I was not a massive Skadabo guy. So nobody convinced me of being biased towards white guys.
I wasn't either.
But I did like Tootin a lot. I was disappointed that neither of those guys was the pick there. And then I think by the time the sixth round rolls around, they're not going to trade back, so it's obvious that they missed out on their guy. But yeah, I'd imagine Devin Neal, maybe another guy or 2 they were looking at in the 6th round, and ended up having to take Newman instead. And then I kind of imagine they wanted to take Za all along because we've convinced ourselves that Za's the best player in the league.
Anyway. The league.
I mean, who else they got in this goddamn league? Fucking
Za's guaranteed MVP next year.
Probably. I don't know. What if Deron Bland is able to get a down ballot vote, then why can't Za?
Oh God. So many
yeah, I think it happened to them at 3 different points. And that stinks. And it stinks for a couple of reasons. One is just it obviously stinks. But the other is it tells me that the Bears did know that they needed a running back. They were willing to spend as much as 2nd round capital plus because they were willing to trade up for Travion Henderson. And I believe it's the Titans, they say, we're not willing to move down. They very much know they need a running back. So I can't even trust that the staff is like, well, we could work with what we have. Because I don't think the staff wants to work with what they have. They just have what they have. So that does kind of stink.
I think though that there's a reason why we don't trade up to get a guy, right? Do you remember after
they tried? They did
after
try.
the 1st round. I said I would just trade up to now and get a pick early on to ensure that I can get Henderson personally. I think I was telling you that. And then after the day 2 ended, I said why not take that 109 and move up right now between the days and see if you can get all the way up, because you got a couple running backs right there and just guarantee it. And I feel like if they felt that they needed it that desperately, they would have made the move up for anyone.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of guys, you probably got reckless ass polls based on this one video. You got reckless polls, you got level-headed Ian saying, no, don't give him this, give him that. And, there's maybe a little bit of that going on. Probably not in exactly that way. This is based on one video, but
you also would have reached at somebody instead of taking like, you know what I mean? Like eventually you would have just reached. If you felt that bad I needed it, you don't take Hippolyte, you take Devin Neal in the 4th.
But we also know that so the counter to reckless polls with his trade ups is disciplined, sticking to my board regardless of need. So a lot of that went into it.
Right. Right. I guess I'm saying if it's that much of a need from the coaching staff, I'm trying to think if I could figure out one that Eberflus might have had where we drafted I don't know. I don't want to say Dex was a reach or Zach Pickens was a reach.
I do think they were slight board reaches.
Day 3 though, so like slight
and doubling up was also. You're saying Dexter and Pickens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So day 2,
so we doubled up. Both reaches
doubling
slight.
up is maybe overcorrecting. Like we absolutely need a 3-tech type of deal. Yeah. It's not a huge one because I think we were fine with it, but it was a little bit of that, I think.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like I feel like he would still make that move if he felt like the guy needs some.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know.
It's discouraging because if I have 2 concerns about the offense, it's how quickly is Caleb going to be able to do the things that Ben Johnson wants to versus the things that Caleb is already good at. And then 2 would be, how can we even do what Ben Johnson wants to if we can't trust our running backs to consistently make the run game a real threat? And I think the Bears were trying to address the latter, and I'm not going to say through their own fault, because I don't know that I would have done much differently, but they failed. They did fail. They only got a 7th round running back.
In my opinion,
talk about the 7th round running back slightly if we'd like to. I will say a couple things about him, but I mean, at that point, like, again, I would have reached on Caleb Johnson.
What do you know about Monangai? Just really quickly.
You want to know, no joke, what I know about him most, and I swear to God, this will not be the first time I've successfully scouted a running back this way. He is really, really good in the college football video game.
Oh, shit. No way.
And I discovered Darren McFadden before anybody knew about him in the college football video game.
There we go. So we're set. Just that.
Nah, so I wish I was like 10% more kidding than I am, but that does matter to me, because it gives me like a baseline. I don't know. It's stupid, but it is real. It just gives me the idea of what this guy is. Especially when the scouting reports are the same thing. He is too small to be what he is. He is a power back, but he's like 5'10" to, I don't think even 220.
See, but here's my issue with that, because as somebody who also played in high school, granted, but I played fullback, and the thing that I was really good at versus our other fullback was, you ain't getting me on my ass. It was hard as fuck to tackle me. 5'7", 175, right? Yeah, I was stronger than most people, even at my size, because shit, I was basically just lifting since I was in like 7th grade. But even like our big ass, my other linebacker, John May, was like, he was 6'3", like 220, right? And he always used to complain about how hard it was to tackle my ass, because you're low and you got good contact balance. And
it's hard to get you down. It's hard to wrap you up. And
if you know to pump, like, keep your legs, just keep your legs moving. You keep square. You just go. You don't let them take it. Like, you do not stay. That's why I'm like, I always find it funny, because people will look at the size of the weight size. I'm like, 5'8" great for a running back. Fuck it, let's go. And at 5'8", 210, that is a heavy motherfucker for his size, for his height.
I think I'd just like another like 10 pounds on him, and then I could like officially, or like an extra 2 inches off of him with the same weight, and then I could be like, oh, this is Maurice Jones-Drew, this is Ray Rice without the stuff.
I heard the same thing that you said, by the way.
Actually,
I heard the same stuff that you said, which was he's just too small, but he's somehow a power running back, because he doesn't have the long speed. Does he have like explosive speed though? Is he quick at hitting his, or like is he agile? Because at 5'8", I'd expect your legs to be short enough.
I don't know about. So the other thing I know about is that Illinois and Rutgers played a very epic football game this season, and Monangai was a problem, but it was all short area from what I remember. It was all like I didn't get a feel of his long speed, so I'm not going to pretend to have watched.
I don't think. I was going to say I know he doesn't have long speed, because I think his 40 wasn't that great.
I'll say this: we also played Devin Neal this year, and I thought Monangai was way better.
They're maybe
one game sample size against my favorite, or my alma mater, not my favorite school, my alma mater. I thought Monangai was way better.
Yeah. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't count him out just because of the size thing. And if it sounds like people keep saying like he's a good power back, let's see it. My thing though is like, I agree with you that we don't have the running backs for this shit. I hate DeAndre Swift. If he somehow has a good year, I'll be happy. But in my mind, the thing that's going to make our running game look good is your running game's floor is set by your line and your scheme. And your scheme can raise the ceiling. Our line, what?
I wish I could completely agree.
Because you have a good counterpoint. And I will give you that with the Broncos. We've had this argument before, and you brought up the Broncos.
The counterpoint I care to make here is, so yes, the Broncos are a good example, but let's just think about DeAndre Swift playing football. Yes, he was productive with the best offensive line in the league, but with anything less than that, I don't trust him to even
Right,
find the massive hole they're making for him.
Right. We don't have the offensive line of the Eagles, but how much further are we? And remember, your left tackle's not doing that much when it comes to the run game.
Oh, yeah, it's the interior, but I think the interior is
how much further for the run game?
far
For the
from-
run
from-
game,
massively.
massively.
Yeah, I think so. Because
I mean, you don't have Kelsey.
Kelsey was still there.
Kelsey
Yes.
was still there. That's a good point. No, that's a good
Kelsey,
point. Kelsey,
Jurgens, and Dickerson. Like that is immaculate.
Yeah, you don't get much better than that. You can. I don't think you can get much better than that. Okay, cool. But that also got him a 1,000-yard season and stupidly paid.
Yeah.
Polls, what the fuck? But they got him a 1,000 yards. Like, and he had good seasons with the Lions when they had a worse offensive line. Better than what we had last year for run game. But
yeah.
So like I think you can still get the big explosive runs, and then you just don't give him the ball on first down. Fuck him. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not getting.
We're having to talk ourselves into, I don't know to what extent.
Roshan and Mononga.
We're having to talk ourselves into Roshan. We're not. I
think Roshan's going to get you the 4 yards. Or
if they drafted Mononga, can I just say if they drafted Mononga in the 5th round, I would have said, oh shit, cool, Mononga. All right, we at least got a running back.
Fair.
Since it happened in the 7th round, but again, that goes into there's no such thing as a
Herbert was a late 6th. Like, we're fine.
Sure.
He was probably picked what 30, 40
the question is, do we need to add Chubb or Dobbins or
I mean, I prefer that. Let me be clear here. So like
Jamal Williams, like I don't know.
Let me be clear. Jamal Williams, if you're really that scared of me, if we had Jamal Williams, I'll be like, okay, cool, we're right. Fuck, we needed a running back. Chubb, I think, would be a bet on. Can we get the ceiling higher? Because I think right now with Roshan and Mononga, one of those two is going to be able to get you the yards that are blocked, right? They're not going to break it off, but they're going to get you the yards that are blocked. And then you hope that Swift breaks the like 5 or 6 handoffs that you give him, because you don't want to give him more than that. You've seen breaks like 1 or 2 of those.
This is my worry is, so I don't think it's going to be, I mean, it's clearly not going to be 5 or 6. I don't think it's also not going to be like the 15 that I think most people expect, but I don't know, it's going to be 12. And that's
with the offensive line, I'm less scared that it's going to be he'll still probably have runs where he doesn't get any yards.
But here's the other thing.
I still think it's gonna be less often that happens.
Here's the other thing, really quick, that I don't want to go unsaid, is that Skater Bro and Henderson were 2 targets. I think we can rightfully assume that those were 2 targets. Henderson is definitely the Gibbs, and Skater Bro is definitely the Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
We were also good. We wanted a running back so badly that we didn't care which of the 2 parts of that we got.
Right, because the Roshan is not.
We had. We could do the Roshan as Montgomery, or we could do the Swift as Gibbs, but we didn't really want to just, I don't know. It's just.
Roshan is like 75% of David Montgomery. I think what David Montgomery is, he's going to get you the yards that are blocked and maybe a little bit more, but that's it. Right? And so when you're only 75% of that, it's like, we might need something a little bit more. Right?
Yeah. Another hot take of mine is definitely going to be Roshan leads us in carries and yards and all that crap.
Watch him be really good this year. I don't know. Like he had so many. He had such high expectations.
You think you would have seen it? He definitely.
Oh yeah, running back too.
He definitely didn't have many negative plays, but it's just not. It's just.
It could be the offensive.
It's an uncomfortable spot to be in, knowing what Ben Johnson would like to do with the play action game, of just not being sure that you could trust the running backs to get what is blocked.
Right. But even if they don't, I think that the block Roshan's going to get you what's blocked. I'm pretty sure. He was like at 0 for his what's it called? The stat that
ROE. But
rushing yards over expected.
Granted,
and that was with that offensive line.
So many 1 yard.
Right, because
so many times where he could only possibly get 1 yard, so
yeah,
therefore he got 1 yard, and therefore 100% ROE.
Yeah, which, like, to be clear though, I can't say if he'll get more if we give him a little bit of wiggle room. And he took the ball, and to be fair, the reason why he didn't have as much wiggle room as say like DeAndre Swift we were giving him the ball in short yardage only situations where it's obvious we were running. DeAndre Swift would get the ball and then be like, bro, you got a massive ass hole there. Why are you not? Where the fuck are you going?
That's why, again, potential hot take is that Roshan is like good, basically.
Right.
But it's a hot take, I feel like, based on him showing almost nothing through 2 years.
I think between him and Monangai, you're gonna find enough of a running game that on first down, we run for 4 yards each time. That hey, they're gonna start coming up because it's setting us up for some easy second downs. It's not gonna be the same. But you also have like the jet sweeps, you have other types of ways to get balls in the ball carrier's hands that aren't running backs to make it. You got a QB running game. Like, I don't know if how much I'm gonna want to run like Caleb on QB power, but he might have like Caleb can run it if he needs to. Just get your ass down, please. Or like just he loves to run into people. Like I think the run game is going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be great. I think the floor's been set by the offensive line. I think the ceiling is probably not going to be as fun as it should be considering the offensive line. Like, we're not going to have the Panthers run game now. Feels like it's going to be harder to get to. But I think it's going to be consistent, and I want consistency. I want to be able to not have constant times in which, oh, hey, Wolves, or I don't want to have the inconsistency of, Derek Swift did run for 75 yards because he busted a 50-yarder and the rest of it sucked. Okay?
Yeah, I care. Well, I guess that's tough. That's a tough needle to thread.
I want the explosiveness eventually, but as long as we have the consistent run game, which I'm hoping we did enough to do, we need the consistent run game. Eventually, though, we need to and that's why I'm saying we should still sign Nick Chubb, because shit, if I can get Nick Chubb right now off the street and say I fuck up and I overpaid him and he's too injured to even really do much, screw it. I have the cap space for the year to spend it anyway, right? I don't need to guarantee. I can find a way to get a deal in that I'm not guaranteeing much in the future, right? I'll just eat it. But hey, if it works out, I might as well take that swing, right? Like, why not?
I'd imagine that Chubb will sign almost anything, honestly. And be a training camp cut candidate. And honestly, I'd expect him to get cut during training camp if he has to show up against Monangai and Roshan. I honestly think these two unproven bad backs would probably beat him, but it's worth
that's not good
exploring. No,
but there are other.
There's a bad knee injury.
Yeah, 2 years removed now, though.
Worth bringing him in for sure.
And they're always more explosive.
Love to be wrong.
Off of bad knee injury, and he looks a little bit of film we're seeing. It looks kind of nice. I can't say. I would still it's worth bringing him in, as you said.
And we are, however, meandering. So I think final points time if we have any.
I want to talk Caleb, but
just move on. Sure, yeah, we can talk about Caleb really quick.
I mean, real quick, give me the draft grade. Give me your draft grade altogether.
Caleb Williams, taking him at 1, A+ at the time. I don't know. I mean, the first pick is going to have an outweighed importance. I like 2 of the 3. Let's see. We're doing like D+, B+, C, A-, F, B, C, B. Hard to trying to GPA this in my head really quick.
I gave you a grade.
I think we're C-, D+. I think.
Yeah, I gave us a B-, I think, at the time. I did not like day 3 as much at the time.
Hip light's just an F. It just objectively hip light's an F. Even if it works, I think it's just an F. It's a terrible swing to take.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we're wrong. That'd be really fun. We are. Yeah.
I probably am wrong about Colson Loveland. I'm still going to stick by process here. Loveland was bad process to me.
I'm higher on Loveland with the day 2 stuff that happened, being what brought me from the grade that I gave you originally to actually I like a B- for that. I really like day, dude. Are those second rounders? I was stoked. After day 2. I was absolutely ecstatic with what we got. And then day 3 was Hippolyte happened, and then I was that's actually when I started to check out, was when we lost out on the running backs and we traded back at 109, and then Hippolyte happened. I'm this feels like we're fucked. But then I saw we got Todd Frazier. After the facts, the next day I realized, oh, that's a damn good pick, right? Like,
Yeah.
help there. Newman, I think you take that swing. Shit, yeah. So like at 6th rounder, there's not much I expect. So I give it on McBee almost.
You know what's
And
funny is
then
when we took Frazier, because I was just so running back pilled, I texted my friends, I texted you. I just kept doing all capital letters ZHA. I kept saying, we don't want Za. Fuck Za. I don't want
I don't
Za.
even. I think that
That
this
was
was.
being very annoying. Nobody wants fucking Za. Like, 'cause I just wanted a running back.
I don't
Turns
remember
out,
how I responded to it.
wonderful pick in my opinion.
Everybody fucking loves a Za. I'm gonna order some pizza now.
I wonder what everybody else is doing. Well, the H was important to me
Yeah,
because
I know.
you had that A, then yeah, of course we all want it.
What's some Za?
Top 25 pizzas in Chicago. Go.
Fuck no.
Okay.
Holy shit! How are we getting going for 200? Oh god. We spent too much time on. Yeah, it's been a while since we got to talk, so that's nice. The
Yeah. We're just posting the goddamn thing. I don't care. It's
Oh,
posted.
we are. I don't give a shit. It's fine.
And you're clipping one of the parts and you're putting it on the thing. Okay, right. You don't have to do all that.
Let's
just get it on there.
Let's talk Caleb real quick, and the stuff that's come out in the book that's coming out from
Seth Wickersham.
Seth Wickersham.
Can we? Quick request, because I do have a bit of an out here.
Yep. Keep it quick. I'm just going to say, everything his dad said was true, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, was there a single thing that he was wrong about? I would have looked at that and been like, huh. So at the time, I was really upset when I first saw it, because in my mind, I'm like, I thought he didn't say these things. I got all happy that it was all lies and bullshit. Yeah. And now that I think about it, he technically didn't. His dad was being very protective, and Caleb honestly should be listening to his dad, right? And eventually Caleb did.
No.
I mean,
disagree there. Nobody has to listen to their dad.
Not should be. When I say should be, what I mean is his dad's made some pretty damn good decisions for him, and his dad was fucking right. So like, probably should have. But in the sense that, hey, this might not be a great space for you. Quarterbacks are made by the situation that they go into. His dad's right. Like, so many quarterbacks are ruined by teams. I think more quarterbacks are ruined by teams than quarterbacks are busts, in my opinion. Right? So, and you look at Geno Smith looking so much better now, right? Or like Sam Darnold at least looking like he could. I mean, the offense kind of unfair there.
I think Geno and Darnold, you could lump them into a general category and not seem crazy. Yeah.
So
a part of it being the experience that they've gained with age, the processing ability they've gained with age.
Yep. That's a big part of it. Also, just let's not get into it but let's so yes, teams break quarterbacks, so he's right to be worried about that. But on top of it, he was also complaining a lot about how the NFL, the CBA, which is absolutely awful, not just to rookies, but the fact that you can franchise tag a player 3 times. There's a reason why the market's so limited versus every other sport, right? So the NBA uses max contracts and super maxes to limit their stuff. The NFL uses franchise tags because I can just keep fucking tagging you and you don't have control. So you're going to come to my number even if you think you're worth so much more, right? If you're a top player. That's why you only go a little bit higher than each guy instead of really resetting the market. He's right about 8 years of control if they want. No one actually does 8 years, except for the fucking Cowboys. 7 technically, because no 5th year with Dak.
Kirk Cousins. Oh, stray examples, yeah.
Yeah. But these aren't like top. You don't do it with a top guy. You're rarely going to see it with like the best. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes got signed right away for a reason. Like if you're a top guy. But yes, he's right. He's very much so right. So he's right about that. He was right about the fact that Shane Waldron was probably not a good thing for Caleb. It was absolutely not. There was the talks about how like even after the fact, Caleb's like, no one's telling me what to watch on film. I'm just putting it on myself and having to watch it myself. That's fucked. Are you kidding me? He's a rookie. Like that happened to Alex Smith of the Niners. He complained about that, and actually, that is why when like Mahomes came, Alex Smith made sure like, hey, this is how you're supposed to watch your film, and came in and tried to teach it to him. We didn't have a veteran quarterback there to do that for Caleb. There are so many things that were wrong with that situation, with our situation last year, that now are fixed. And I think Caleb is excited now. Like it seems almost obvious that with Ben Johnson, he's like, oh, the situation's a lot different. They were right about all of it. So I'm not going to be mad that his father says all these things. And Caleb still said, I still want to come into this city and be the one to flip it around. And Caleb says, I think we can do this. After coming in first.
He ultimately liked the situation.
Yeah. So like, I'm not, I was upset at first because I felt betrayed a little bit, but then I thought about it. I'm like, this is great. Yeah, fuck it. I get it. I should say, instead of this is great. Yeah. Now, I hate the fact that this came out because I just wish it was after a good season because now people, like, even other fans are going to be talking shit about Caleb. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. You get a lot of the same stuff with Bedard with the Hawks is like, oh, he's going to leave the second he can. Well, he can't, but I don't like hearing that. I don't like hearing that about Connor Bedard. I'm not going to like hearing it about Caleb. If I mean, it's a double-edged sword. If Caleb is good, we're going to hear about how he's going to leave the second he can. And if Caleb is bad, then, well, he's bad. So that sucks too. Here's my takeaway, because I also my initial reaction was, probably not far off of yours. I still don't like. So I'm not. I think being patriotic is like the stupidest thing in the world. Like if you're patriotic, I'm sorry, I think you're a bit of a psycho.
I think what people think is patriotic is the stupidest thing in the world. I think being patriotic is being able to criticize your country because you want to see it get better. So go on.
Yeah, I think loving one's country is psychotic.
Yep.
That said, I go full hypocrite about the city of Chicago. I love the city of Chicago. I don't like anybody saying anything about the city of Chicago.
We're the same person on this. I'm sorry, because it's funny that, and I think this has changed. I used to be a little bit of a patriot, and I still consider myself a patriot in the sense that I want to see the U.S. get better, and I think that we have foundations that we should be, whatever. But no, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't give a shit what country you come from. You're not better or worse because of a country, or you shouldn't be proud because of a country you're born in, right?
Yeah.
You should be proud of what you're doing.
You were just there.
Yeah. You should be proud of what you do as a country. Like, I want my country to get better for our people. That's why I say that that's a little different.
It would be nice to be proud of one's country.
Yes.
It's not to the point of like, I love you and here's where I'm flying my big flag.
And it's not just because you got born there. It should be about what your country is doing to slowly get better. In my opinion. You should be proud of those movements. Yep.
And
like, I look at the Scandinavian countries and I'm like, man, I'd be a damn proud Swede knowing that. I
probably wouldn't fly the Swedish flag, though, is still probably my point. Like, I'd be like, yeah, I'm happy, but I'm not going to add.
But the city of Chicago, though.
Chicago.
I have the suburbs, but I have Chicago flags. Like, and I did live in the city, obviously, for like 10 years. I would get the Chicago flag tatted on me. It would be one of my first tattoos I'd get.
I'd integrate it into a bigger tattoo, but yes. It would be a part of the tattoo.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so we're okay, good. Same page there. And also, no need to defend it. No need to defend it. I'm just going to say that is a hypocritical take that I have.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the hate that Chicago gets within the country. They don't get like a ton of hate, but like Chicago is the best place I've ever been to. Point blank, I've been to not too many places, but I've been to New York. I've been to, New York's really just the best barometer of whether or not Chicago's much better than New York. Fuck you if you think otherwise. I'm sorry. New York is a big smelly pot.
I had a ton of fun visiting New York, to be fair. I think it's an awesome city.
I had some fun. I would never want to live there. Did also walk around with a bad attitude and said, yeah, Chicago has that too, and it's better.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is like
New York, it's close by New York, a garbage can on every street. That's what Chicago needs to get on New York's page. Otherwise, everything in Chicago is better.
Yep. Come close.
We got tall buildings too.
Trash bags outside on the streets.
Yeah,
dumpsters. Sorry. So you're getting there because of obviously the comment about them basically wanting to consider torching the city and him saying no.
Sure, but he didn't do it. And that's fine. But also just the idea of not wanting to come to Chicago for any reason. A guy who lives in Los Angeles.
It's a career thing. It's a career thing.
Chicago is better than Los Angeles.
Right,
It
but I'm
is.
not looking at it as a city thing. And I don't know. He loves LA.
I'm seeping out my stray little thoughts that I still
Yeah.
have here. I'm just saying Chicago, in my opinion, is the best city in the country. I'll go to some more places, but Chicago is awesome. I would never move anywhere else. I love Chicago.
I agree with you there. I will say though that was his dad's planning of like.
Right. Well, so
maybe we don't
that also said Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. There is no curse. And if there is no curse, what else are we looking at here? Ownership? What has ownership done that has made quarterbacks die?
So we look at our long history of not having quarterbacks, and it's like, well, we didn't draft them for fucking ever.
Right.
Like, and then we started to recently. And I think anyone could have told you at the time that we drafted Mitch Trubisky, even Bears fans knew, what the fuck are we doing? Justin Fields is a different story, right? And I would say that we did not do much to help him. But at the time of drafting Justin Fields, because of what the regime did during the Mitch Trubisky era and how fucking bad they were at leveraging so much to be mid with a not great quarterback, we didn't have shit to build around him, so we fucked him. But all the years before that, what we drafted Rex Grossman, Kyle Orton looked good with us. Jay Cutler, I mean, I don't know, like, I think Jay Cutler had a much better career than where he might have been unless he had a lot more support.
If Caleb Williams is Jay Cutler, then Caleb Williams is a success.
Yes. I mean, not for what is, he would be a disappointment for what, yeah.
But it will have meant that we've gotten a very good quarterback for 10 to 12 years.
Yes. So Kyle Orton was also good with us. Rex Grossman was one of, okay, we had him. Who else did we drafted the first round before him? It was, what's his name in the 90s? Cade McNown.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah. I was going
Cade
back
McNown.
to Rick
and then the only other quarterback we had drafted since like the Super Bowl era was, and why am I forgetting our
Jim Harbaugh?
No. Oh, is it? Did Jim Harbaugh go in the first round?
Yeah.
All right, so it's Jim Harbaugh, Cade McNown, Rex Grossman, so that's 3. And then it was
we traded like the 6th overall pick for Rick Meyer. I can't. I'm blanking. I've had 4
Super
years.
Bowl quarterback. Please help me out. This is why I'm really mad at myself.
Super Bowl quarterback?
Yeah, that was
Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon was the first rounder, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Those are the only quarterbacks we drafted in the first fucking round in the Super Bowl era.
I don't know you're going that far back.
You're gonna find a quarterback.
Harbaugh after McMahon.
Yep.
Then Jesus, all the way until McNown. Wow.
That's how many we didn't try to find them. We tried to find them in the dumbest fucking ways. So yes, we just started trying and we made it look bad. But we aren't the Browns. We weren't drafting a million fucking first round quarterbacks.
Right. So like maybe we could do like, maybe it would be fair to like go to a part 2 because maybe we could talk about how ownership is the one constant. And maybe they have not understood how to put them.
They don't care about modern offenses until recently. I'll be honest with you. That's that in my opinion.
There's certainly that, but even recently, like I would say that there was definitely a care in Trubisky and Fields and Caleb. And
before they did it.
But all 3 of those guys, they were failed from, I don't like to criticize ownership this particular ownership that much. We get into it another time. But there was certainly a care that was put into it that was still failed. And in bringing Eberflus, I am curious as to what actually went through Caleb's mind, whether it was just fear of not wanting to do the thing that he was thinking of doing, or if there actually was some buy-in when he, like real buy-in from meeting with Eberflus and Waldron. Like I wonder if he was like, this might go well, and then it just didn't.
I think it was the players and polls because I think he didn't feel the vibe with Waldron, from my understanding. From my understanding, he actually was worried about how they would vibe after meeting him. And I'm curious if he talked to former Seahawks players to know that, like, and if his dad did too, to know that Waldron's probably not it. Because if you really think about it, who's the guy who went to the Bucs and then went to he's with the Panthers head coach right now? That's got to be mostly him who did the Geno revival, because he also did the Baker revival, and I think Bryce Young looked good, right? Like, I think there might have been some conversations there, right? I'm sure his dad would probe. about that shit.
What is
And then
annoying? What is annoying is that now we're with Ben Johnson, but maybe
we couldn't have had him
Mark
last year.
Brunell is what did the Jared Goff revival. You know, you never know. You never know because
Yeah.
like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know with Shane
It's
Waldron. They seem to know, but you never really
and
know as a fan.
Jared Goff was probably already decent. Like he is what he
Sure,
was with the Rams.
you know what I mean. Like you never
Yeah.
like know what the cause of it is.
Yeah. But I will say this though, is like they probably did some digging, and we saw what Jackson Smith and Jigba said about it. Like, oh, is this live? Like, not wanting to say anything about Waldron. Be like, I could live
Yeah.
with that. Like, so I can get why they were probably saying they're like, that's not a good situation because of the coaching staff specifically. I don't know if it was about the history, but I think our history gets way too because like the fucking Chiefs had bad quarterbacking for a long time, and then they get good. Like, there
Yeah.
are teams that will eventually find it.
Yeah.
It's just it's
Yeah,
hard to find
the history thing. The history thing's just silly to me. Again, the ownership is a constant that maybe you can dig into, but otherwise you're just talking about a curse, and that's not real.
We just never invested in it until recently, and it's going to take a few tries before you get it. And you're hoping that Caleb is it. So I will always say that when it comes down to the history of quarterback.
So the other thing I have is I don't like that it's a double-edged point here, I guess, is I don't like that it is more likely to make the Boo Birds come out because the average fan doesn't like this. I assume. It's not helpful to have the Boo Birds come out after 3
That's why I
failed
really am
series.
pissed off that they let this out. Like his
That
camp should
said,
not have.
that said, if Caleb is good, that shouldn't have anything to do with anything.
Yep.
If
Oh
the
yeah,
Boo
winning
Birds are going to bother you, then you're not it. You're just not.
winning games, or if defense is the ones losing us and you're performing well, will fix everything for him. Otherwise,
Right.
this is a tenuous situation, and that does worry me. And I'm also going to be really annoyed that if he doesn't do well, I'm going to hear from other fan bases bringing this up a ton too. And we're going to hear it all fucking offseason, I feel like, too, from other fan bases, which is why I'm happy I'm not on Twitter or anything like that. So I don't have to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not gonna hear it. Most of the Blue Sky people I don't interact with very often.
I haven't been on Blue Sky enough.
It's just good for my mental well-being not to engage with this stuff too much.
Well,
Last point I had, I'm probably forgetting. I don't know, but I'm with you. Like I guess I wonder, if the rookie wage scale injustice would have been, because it's bad. It should not work that way. I mean, in every sport, the players should just be free agents, and they should highest bidder wins, or some variation of that. They should get what they're worth.
Yeah.
I do wonder if that grave injustice would have been solved if the Vikings were the ones at the first pick who Caleb apparently loves so much.
Oh, they were.
I gotta
once
say,
they realized that
the
they couldn't get out of
Vikings
the
being the
draft.
team that you love so much, fuck that as well.
Yeah, that bugs me. But he said it's because of KOC, which I know is a pretty good fucking reason.
I know.
To love.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. This is all just stuff I wish I didn't know. I wish I didn't know this. It's all easy to.
Now you gotta sit there and like, if Ben Johnson doesn't work out well, but Caleb's starting to look pretty decent, but yeah, maybe not the greatest. Like, you get a little bit of naggy stuff, but it's not because of the offense sometimes, and blah blah blah. It's like, does he go over does he want to go to the Viking? Like, that would fucking.
The point is, point is, it's all easy to know in my head, like why this stuff was done and said, and knowing at the end of the day, like, well, he came to our facilities and said, you know, I do want to be a Chicago Bear. And at the end of the day, that's all that's really important. But I don't like to know all that stuff. There is a part of me that also says, well, if you had done that, well, we'd have Jaden Daniels or Drake May, and that would probably be better. So,
yeah.
Oh, well.
Drake May would have survived a little bit of last year.
Yeah. Well, this is where we are.
Fun. Anyway, I will say this though. Still, I'm not mad at him. A lot of that came out because of his dad. A lot of it was his dad's decisions, and I could see why after meeting with KOC, he's like, I want to go to the Vikings. If we're gonna try to do this, make it the Vikings, because if you're gonna try to do it, might as well pick the guy like KOC.
You know, I'll say so. There's the pride factor of watching from afar, but trusting certain sources and whatnot, and realizing like, oh, his dad's not as involved as everybody says, and Caleb's not the diva that everybody says.
That
Like he's
hurt,
not doing, and that's wrong. They absolutely were
I don't know if Caleb's
borderline planning some shit.
Pause. Caleb's not the diva though. The Caleb diva stuff I think is still bullshit. Because again,
I don't think so. I even if it's for just reasons, like I don't think Eli Manning was a diva. Diva's maybe not the right word, but like
yeah.
to even be willing to do that would have made me say, okay, fuck it, let's just take Drake May instead. Even if I had known that stuff, and even had I known that Caleb was like, you know what?
Oh, I think I'd say
I'll
during
come
the
to the
time,
Bears.
if there's
If I
any
had known
reason why
any of
Caleb
that, I'd
didn't-
be like, Drake May. We're pivoting to Drake May. We're not doing
But
it.
that's also
I'm
hold
not
on,
doing
that's-
any of this.
Pause. Because I was with you at the time. I even said it at the time. Like, if there's, I'm like, I don't believe it, but if there's for some reason that's true and you don't want to be here, then I'll just say Drake May. But that's also because I saw Drake May as 1B, and so did you. I think you had them very close. So like,
Yeah.
it wasn't even a 1-2. It was like, dude, I see them right there. And I think with what Drake May did with absolutely no help around him at all, not even like receiver help, basically. What Drake May did last year was fantastic. And probably showed that he could have dealt with the lack of support we had here. So dude just fucking throws it. He chucks it. He chucks it good.
He's currently a better quarterback than Caleb Williams by a pretty noticeable margin.
I think that's
not guaranteed to stay that way, but
No.
I would imagine it probably will. But you know, maybe they'll be the 2 of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league for years to come. That's nobody's saying that's out of the question.
Yep. And that's because Drake May was more willing to just throw that ball and take a chance. Whereas
Throw the ball.
Caleb,
Throw the ball.
throw the fucking balls. Make a decision.
Say
Make
that
the
all
fucking
year.
decision.
Say that all year. Just throw the ball.
So anyway, we've been on this long. And I still think Caleb could be very good, and so love the guy, but just wanted to get that out there.
Don't love him, but you know, love is
I think
a strong emotion.
I love, like, you know what I mean. You know what I mean by that. But
I still trust this will work. Yeah.
yeah. And I think
Despite
that how he's held himself since being here, how he's held himself as the leader of our team and as a quarterback has been fantastic. So I respect the hell out of him still even with us.
I agree with that. Yes.
So I'm Adam. That's Kevin. Thank you for signing the Virginia games with us.
Bye.